Hello, everybody! It's Awkward Wave time! Hi, everyone! I hope you are all well on this fine Sunday morning. Sunday morning, afternoon-ish. There's lots of people from lots of time zones around the world, so we're fine, right? Right, yeah, we're fine. Oh my god, there's so many people here. This is awesome. Oh, and I've already had our first sub of the day. Thank you to DS Lady E, who has subscribed for 2 months with Amazon Prime. With Twitch Prime. Amazon Prime, Twitch Prime. Prime. Prime numbers, they're the same in all systems. It's the same. That's why it's called Prime, probably. Maybe. Who knows? Anyway, yes. Hi, I'm Bryn, for those who don't already know. Welcome to Rusty Quill on Twitch. This is my first stream here on this channel, and I'm excited. I'm only a tiny bit nervous. For those who don't already know, is there anyone who doesn't already know? Probably. For those who don't already know, Rusty Quill is a podcast and related entertainment company based in England. We produce podcasts mostly, and other stuff occasionally. We produce 3 weekly podcasts. Rusty Quill Gaming, which features me, the Magnus Archives, and Stella Firma. And you can find out more about us at rustyquill.com and on all good podcatchers. Am I doing this bit right? You guys? Give me some validation in chat for doing this bit right, really professionally and stuff, yeah? Yeah, you probably know this already. So yes, you probably all know this already. So, well, here today we are with me, Bryn. I am in Rusty Quill Gaming. Oh, Are You Here has cheered with 100 bits. Thank you, Are You Here? Ooh. I got text to speech. Did anyone else get text to speech? And Niblick3 also cheered with 100 bits. I don't currently have my desktop audio on because the game is playing in the background. Okay, so you guys won't hear the text to speech yet, but once I turn text to speech on, you'll hear it. I could turn it on. There'll be dramatic music in the background from Pathfinder Kingmaker. Oh, and I Like Cetaceans and Tafera and Molière Zoo. Oh my god, so many bits. Thank you all. 100 bits from each of you. Oh, 138 bits. Double nice from Molière Zoo. Let's turn that on. Do you guys hear?
Molière
No, you won't.
Sue cheered.
You won't hear the dramatic music in the background
Text
yet.
to speech only for you because you're doing great.
Yes, so the dramatic background music from Pathfinder is currently off because it's minimized. So you guys can share the text to speech with me. Excellent. Oh my god, level 1 hype train already. Right, yes. Rusty Quill Gaming. Rusty Quill Gaming is a podcast created under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Share Alike 4. Oh no,
Rapture
I can't do
Sandra
it. I've never had to say that before.
X100.
So, Rusty Quill Gaming is a long-running Pathfinder actual play podcast where we play a Pathfinder campaign. Alexander J. Newell, the CEO and big boss man of Rusty Quill, is the GM, and it features 4 player characters. One of which is played by Tafiera giving out 5. Oh, Raptures and Roses cheered for 100 bits, and then Tafiera gave out 5 Tier 1 community gift subs, and then Molière gave out 5 Tier 1 community gift subs, and then S Charcoal cheered with 69 bits. Nice. And then S Charcoal cheered with 69 bits. Nice. Again. I can't keep up. You're all too awesome. No, it's fine. It's good. Yay, hype train. Oh, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Kiritsuzu cheered with 100 bits.
Kiritsuzu cheered. X100.
DS Lady Y also cheered with 100 bits. Happy-go-lucky scamps. You scamp, Mike. You utter scamp. Cheered with 62 bits. That's not nice. Why would you cheer with 62 bits? Come on, Mike. Rusty Quill Gaming
DS
podcast.
Lady cheered.
There are 4 PCs. One of them is played by me.
Is a podcast licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike International License.
Very nice. Very good. Good text to speech there. Oh, Zalia has enabled slow mode for chat. Excellent. Okay, so Uh, Everyone knows what an RPG is. An RPG is a game where you play through an epic adventure or quest. The GM creates the world. You have a rule system in place, and then the players. There are four of us in Rusty Quill Gaming. Myself, Lydia, Nicholas, Ben, Meredith. Originally James Ross, and now the irreplaceable Helen Gould. We play characters that we have created, and we send into Alex's world to complete the tasks he set ahead of us. And there are lots of rules for how we complete those tasks, and randomness is introduced by dice. And we play Pathfinder, and Pathfinder is a complicated role-playing game. Yeah. And today, the game I have lined up for us is a game called Pathfinder Kingmaker. Now, I am a big old nerd. You probably knew that already. Widmore cheered with 100 bits. Thank you, Widmore.
You're doing a great job, Bryn. Virtual hug.
Oh, that's very sweet. Yeah, I'm a big old nerd, if you didn't know already. And I've been role-playing since, if I remember correctly, my 13th birthday, which was 23 years and 1 month ago, almost exactly. Imogen Bot timed out Helen. Oh, Helen. And as a teenager, I didn't have very many nerdy friends, so I did a little bit of role-playing with one or two friends, but I couldn't get as much as I wanted. I wanted to be playing role-playing games a lot more than I was able to. And so I would take those role-playing games and I replaced them with computer games that offered the same sort of experience. And I played a lot of computer games based on Dungeons and Dragons. Chief among those, I guess, would be Baldur's Gate. I know there's a huge age range amongst Rusty Quill fans. I don't know how many of you will be aware of or will remember Baldur's Gate and Baldur's Gate 2 when they came out many years ago. I played a lot of them. I played even more, in fact, of Icewind Dale and Icewind Dale 2, which was basically the same game but with different settings, so that everything looked a bit different and there was slightly less plot. And I played Neverwinter Nights. Neverwinter Nights was a good one too, but in Neverwinter Nights you couldn't have as many characters. Those were the three I played. And both Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale were what are referred to as isometric RPGs. So they had a very classic, like, top-down look with, you know, the characters about the same size. Neverwinter Nights was a bit different. It had a very different interface and looked pretty different. The other game I played a lot, but which is slightly more recent, but still probably at least 15 years ago, was a game called Temple of Elemental Evil, which was slightly more obscure. But that one was based on the 3.5 D&D rules, which were my favourite D&D rule set. Whereas Icewind Dale and Baldur's Gate were, I think, D&D 2.0, and Neverwinter Nights was D&D 3.0, if I remember correctly. So I played all these games, and I enjoyed them a lot, but I found that as I entered my 20s and my 30s, I had slightly less time for computer gaming, but slightly more time for role-playing with friends, because it's a good way to see friends and have fun with them. So I did leave computer games behind. Now, I don't know how much people know about the evolution of D&D, D&D 2, D&D 3, D&D 3.5, which is one I played a huge amount of. And then D&D 4.0 came out, and I was not a big fan of 4.0, and at about the same time, I believe, a different company published Pathfinder as a RPG rule set. Pathfinder was like an evolution of the D&D 3.5 system. And since I'd played a lot of D&D 3.5, and I really enjoyed D&D 3.5, I kind of took up Pathfinder, and I fell in love very quickly. I was the one who actually introduced Alex, the GM of Rusty Quill. He, when he moved to London, he didn't have a huge number of friends in London, and I was looking to do some more role-playing, and Alex was a nerd, and we were starting to hit it off at this point, and I invited him to be part of a one-off RPG game set with Pathfinder. So I actually introduced Alex to Pathfinder originally back then. And yeah, we both liked it a lot, and that's what we... And then D&D 5.0 came out just about the same time that Rusty Quill Gaming was spinning up, which is well over 5 years ago now. And it was kind of untested at the time, and we were unsure of it, having not really liked 4.0, and so we stuck with Pathfinder for Rusty Quill Gaming. And yeah, so in some ways, the fact that we use Pathfinder is pretty much my fault. Sorry, but not really sorry, because I love Pathfinder. Yeah, these days D&D 5.0 is out there, and it's very successful, and it's very popular, and it's very good. And I would say that both Pathfinder and D&D 5.0 give you similar but distinct experiences. I mean, fundamentally, they are both D20 systems, and they're both based on the same starting point, so there's a lot of similarity between them. But they do offer slightly different things, and a lot of people favour 5.0, and I think that is perfectly valid and justified. I still prefer Pathfinder, and one of the big reasons I prefer Pathfinder is that I love the customizability you have in Pathfinder. I've played quite a lot of D&D 5 now, and I have found that you don't get as many choices on the mechanical side when you're designing a character. There's just not as many options as there are in Pathfinder. And that was one of the things I loved about D&D 3.5, and it carried on into Pathfinder, and it's one of the things that has been reduced a little in D&D 5. And there's still a lot of richness there, and I initially, when I first experienced 5.0, I did find that someone said the sound is a bit low. I'll turn it up very slightly, because it is slightly low, but I don't want to turn it up too loud, because I do have a tendency to get overexcited and go slightly too loud. Yeah, but it could definitely do with being a bit higher. Hopefully that I won't blow out anyone's ears with that. Okay, I've turned it up very slightly. Yeah, in Pathfinder you get to assign attributes just like you do in 5, but you also get skill points, and that was one of the things I really miss from Pathfinder when you shift over to D&D 5, is that skill points have gone. There are skills, and you are either proficient or not, but there's not a lot of ways to change the number you have in a skill, basically. There's also, and I know they exist in 5, but I think people don't use them as much, is the feat system in Pathfinder. In Pathfinder, you get feats very frequently, and feats are a really good way to give your character new abilities, explore new options, and optimize different builds. And if you're someone like me who enjoys that side of things, like enjoys character sheet management, which I know is not everyone, and should not be a requirement to engage with role-playing games, but if you do enjoy it, I do think that Pathfinder offers that more than D&D 5 does. I think D&D 5 is better for new players. I think if you're just starting out role-playing and you want to try a D20 system, there's lots of other systems out there that are different from D20 systems that are great too, but if you're trying to engage with a D20 system for the first time, I think D&D 5.0 is a better place to start out. Yeah, I think it's wonderful, and I absolutely love. I think one of the things that has been absolutely brilliant innovation is the advantage and disadvantage system. I've said that before as well. I think that's a wonderful feature, and I hope that they port it over. I saw someone mention Pathfinder 2.0 in chat, which hasn't been out terribly long, but is out there now, and I have got the book, and I haven't had a chance to catch up with it yet. But I'm hoping that's done. Been done well, and still offers me all the things I really enjoy about Pathfinder. Yeah, so that's my sort of opinion. If I'm playing in a long-running game, which Rusty Quill Gaming, the main campaign, has been a very long-running game, 5 years, and also we've gone from level 1 to level 9 in that time. I love doing that in Pathfinder. Like in Pathfinder, every time I level up, I feel like there's choices to be made. And some levels are more interesting than others, but there's always new things, and I'm always being able to progress my build. And the amount of power in a mechanical sense that a character has progresses nicely from level to level. Oh, and yeah, and Anil makes a really good point in chat. There's so many other games out there. obviously, and we've played a lot of them as specials on Rusty Quill Gaming. There's a huge variety. I'm kind of focused in today on D20 systems, but there's a huge amount. Are you here? Ask what level will Hamid get wings? So technically, the Draconic Sorcerer Bloodline does get wings at level 15, but due to Hamid's fancy cloak, he would get them at level 11 if we reach that. So there's huge options out there for different role-playing games, and that's just my comparison of these two. Significant pillars, but there's so many options. And I've played a lot of role-playing games, and I've enjoyed different styles and different games over the years. And I won't go into any more detail than that. But yeah, that's what I love about Pathfinder. I find, for me, and especially in that context of the long-running game, that Pathfinder gives me the perfect sort of level-to-level progression, which is what I look for in a computer game. And in a role-playing game, I think that's not the only thing you want to look for. Like, one of the things I love about Rusty Quill Gaming is the character interactions and the other people in the game, and so much of it is having fun with my friends, and it's wonderful for that reason. But in a computer game, obviously, you're having a slightly different experience. And certainly going back a long time, like Icewind Dale didn't have much of a plot. You were playing it mostly for the mechanical aspects. Baldur's Gate certainly did have a plot, and you could explore and bond with characters and all these things. And Pathfinder Kingmaker, I'm imagining there will be the opportunity to both play the character, meet NPCs, explore their stories, as well as the mechanical side of things, which I think does tend to be more heavily emphasised in a computer game. Oh yeah, so just to mention Pathfinder Kingmaker. So Pathfinder Kingmaker is sort of a spiritual sequel to Baldur's Gate Icewind Dale from years and years ago. It was kickstarted by I think Wolfcat Games a few years back, as an isometric RPG harkening back to those classic games, but specifically using the Pathfinder rule set rather than the old D&D 2.0 or 3.0 rule set. And I love that concept because, as I said, I really enjoyed Pathfinder, and I really enjoyed those computer games back in the day, and so I was one of the backers on Kickstarter back in the day. And so I when it came out, I downloaded it, connected it to my Steam account, and never played it because I never found time to play it. So I have literally got, I think, about 20 minutes in this game, which was me testing the setup earlier this week to make sure it would be streamable. So I'm loading it up for the first time. And what I wanted to do today, if you guys are happy to come along with me while we do that, is I am planning to explore the Pathfinder Kingmaker character creator. As I said, I really haven't used it other than the very basic level of testing. And I don't know how much, having just praised the customizability of characters in Pathfinder, and that being a thing I love about the game, I don't know how much of it is imported into this game. So we're going to explore that together. We don't know. We don't know how easy it is going to be to create these characters through the lens of Pathfinder Kingmaker. And also, I don't. Obviously, I created Hamid and I play Hamid, and so I feel that in some sense I do have some ownership of Hamid as a character, but I wouldn't claim any level of ownership over any of the other characters. And I'm going to be talking about them very much from a mechanical perspective, and how I might put them into a computer game such as Pathfinder Kingmaker, which I think would be quite different from how their actual players might construct them for a real life game. So I think there are different things you want to emphasize in a computer game version as opposed to a real life version. So I think in the computer game, I'm expecting combat to be more heavily emphasized than in a real life game. So I want to make sure all my characters are pretty good in combat situations. I'm of course repping my brand and wearing my Hamid t-shirt today, because what else would I do? Yeah, so we won't recreate them entirely faithfully. Apart from anything else, I haven't seen most of the character sheets other than what's been posted on Patreon, obviously, other than my own. But we're gonna do our best. We're going to do our best to make equivalents to the characters. And I don't know how limited the options are. And if possible, we may explore creating all 7 characters that have been PCs in Rusty Quill Gaming. Even Sir Bertrand McGuffingham, who I know is not exactly a fan favourite. But, you know, and you wouldn't... I don't think I would have fun playing the same character in a role playing game, even in a computer role playing game. But mechanically speaking, you might want to play a character of that sort. Now, some things I don't know, for example, is obviously Grizzop is a goblin and Azu is an orc. And I don't know whether the game includes those options as player characters. They may not have all the available Pathfinder races as options for PCs. I also Cell is a half elf, which they will have, but Cell is non-binary, and I do not know how. I haven't, as I said, although I kickstarted this game many years ago, I haven't played it. I don't know if they will offer that as an option in character creation. And to be honest, they may also not offer the alchemist class as an option in character creation, so we may not be able to create Cell. And I certainly wouldn't feel right, kind of assigning a gender to Cell, just to the cause of exploring some of the numbers on Cell's character sheet. But it may be possible to create Azu, because we may be able to use the half orc template, because I believe that actually in Alex's world, mechanically, we did use the half-orc rules to create orc characters such as Tjelvar and Azu in Rusty Quill Gaming, because the rules to create full orcs were more complicated, and half-orcs and orcs didn't need to be very different. So I can't remember that for certain, but we may use the half-orc template, because I think that will get us close enough to Azu as a character. So that's basically the plan for today, and depending on how long that takes, so I've got a 3-hour sleam strot. Those are not words that I meant to say. A 3-hour stream slot. So we'll be wrapping up about then, and I don't think character creation will take us the whole slot, but we'll see. I'm hoping to chat with you guys about it and oh, good. I'm so glad. Sleemstrot. Yep, a Sleemstrot. Everyone loves a good Sleemstrot. I'm hoping to chat with you guys about it. We'll see how much that slows me down, because I love interacting with all of you in chat, and I'm so glad all of you are here on this journey with me. And yeah, certainly character creation is something we could spend loads of time doing, but as we progress, we may find that it doesn't take too long, because we don't have the hundreds of options that the Pathfinder rules give us. I imagine they've been slimmed down somewhat for the computer game. And so we'll if we've gone through all the characters and we've created all the ones we want, we will begin playing through the game as my special boy, as Hamid, and we'll see how the game goes for that. Okay, so I think that's everything I wanted to say before we started, and it's taken me 20 minutes, so hopefully it was, and you guys aren't bored of my voice yet. Sleemstrot. I love Sleemstrot. I'm going to keep saying it now. So, Pathfinder Kingmaker. Hopefully I've got my levels okay. I want it. It's just background noise at this point, so it's not too important for you guys to hear it super well. But hopefully you got a nice sense of the the dramatic background music. It's classic computer game dramatic background. So I've just loaded up the game and hit new game. So apparently there are scenarios. I'll just go with main story for now. Difficulty. Oh man, you can set a whole bunch of difficulties. Wow. Let's assume that they're all where we want them. Character. Create a new character. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, that's quite cool actually. I hadn't seen that before. Like I said, I haven't loaded this game, but the fact that you can set the difficulty options in loads of different ways to customize your experience, that's really cool. I like that. Because a lot of people enjoy difficult video games. I do not. I like easy video games for the most part. You know, if I'm playing a video game, I want to feel a sense of achievement for winning, so I don't want it to be completely straightforward. But I also, I don't like losing. I don't like dying. I don't like having to play through things over and over to beat them. Right, so we've got a bunch of character portraits. Oh, we're not going to find good portraits for any of our characters, are we? Oh no, we're really not. Okay, so the character portrait options are limited, and I think we may struggle. Oh, you can actually upload your own portraits. I'd have to load them to a specific folder. Maybe I should do that. No, we won't worry about that for now. Oh, no, okay, but yeah, it looks like we could put in our own portraits, but it might be quite a complicated operation, and I don't think we have quite have the time to work all the details out. But if I was playing this for my own, I would definitely do that, because I would want portraits that look like my characters. I do even have the official art of all the Rusty Quill Gaming PCs saved on my computer, and I could maybe in the future we'll do that, but we'll just choose the closest fit. I mean, that face is nearly Zolf. That's as good as we're gonna get, probably. I don't know if we'll get close to any of the other characters, but we'll do our best. Is that good enough for Azu? That's sort of pinkish. Anyway, right, who do we want to start with? So, let's start. Okay, so we're going to be learning. There isn't official art of Cell yet, sadly. It's another reason that it probably is not a great idea to create Cell in this game at this point. We wouldn't have good art. We might have to gender them, and we may not be able to choose them to be an alchemist. So, yeah, we'll just have to make do. Okay, we're going to be learning character creator and the interface and the options together, and we might get it wrong at first. So let's start with the least important PC and make Bertie. Now, which of these portraits looks most like Bertie? That's not quite punchable enough. He does look a bit punchable. That's not big armor, but look at that. Look at that sneer. That is slightly punchable face. Oh, there's some arrogance in that face, and he looks very posh, even if he's not in big armor. Oh, that's a classic man in armor, but he looks a bit too nice to be Bertie. Okay, who do we think the most privileged is? I feel like it's probably this guy. That guy's got a bit of a sneer on him too. Oh no, that looks... I mean, that guy looks a bit too nice to be Bertie, I reckon. I think it's got to be this guy with the sneer, right? Oh, you think that might be Wild? Oh, yeah. I think these are the two most arrogant men. What do you guys reckon? I don't think anyone else looks terribly arrogant. Remember, we're not going to be perfect. We're not going to get a perfect one. Okay, let's go with this guy for Bertie. So we're creating a new character, and we'll explore all these options together. Is anything else on this screen clickable? I don't think so. Also, the other thing is, guys, obviously, I've got this lovely frame provided by Rusty Quill, and the Rusty Quill procedure is to have my face in the corner. Hopefully, my face will not obscure any important information. I've tried to make sure it's in the least important corner, but we'll see if anything happens down here, then it might get hidden. We'll see. Okay, so we're gonna use this as our best Bertie stand-in. So, what options do we have? Right. Well, okay. So to choose the character's race. One interesting thing, guys. Obviously, I don't have time to delve into it, but there are a lot of issues with the way that D&D and Pathfinder and this sort of system uses race, and there's been a lot of talk about it recently, and I think it's really interesting that people are trying to change how they are interpreted. And for example, Pathfinder 2 uses heritage rather than race as a concept, in terms of making the different what we refer to as races in these games essentially end up being different. And so I'm not going to go into that, and I hope you will forgive me today for using race and racial abilities and all these things as the concepts as they are presented in game. I think that is a very problematic interpretation, and there are some movements beginning to move into a better way of interpreting that, but it's in the early stages, and I don't sort of know enough to come up with these things on the fly myself. So we're gonna use them as presented in the game, but with the acknowledgement that improvements are on the way, and hopefully better ways will be had for talking about this in future. And it looks like there's only a binary gender option as well. So we won't be making Cell. We don't want to assign Cell a gender just for the purpose of this game. So what do we have? This is interesting. So I wondered this as well. We have human, elf, dwarf, gnome, halfling, half-elf, half-orc, and Azamar. What we don't have is goblin. So we may not be able to make Grizzop either, because Grizzop will not be Grizzop will probably not be a creatable character in this game. Now, we could shift Grizzop into a different, just for the purposes of exploring his build, but I also think that would not be not necessarily be a very sensible way to do it. So we might have to skip Grizzop, I'm afraid, guys. So I don't want to create a weird fascist smile of a character. I mean, I guess that's what I'm doing, but I think that there are some things that you can sort of play around with when you're exploring the mechanical build of a character, but changing those fundamental things, it can be a bit more difficult. But we're going to start with Bertie. We'll create Bertie because, as I said, or you might not want to play Bertie exactly as he is in the show, but Bertie as a mechanical archetype is still something that could be interesting. Right, so what options do we have? We can this screen is mostly appearance, and we can even make someone right-handed or left-handed. That's pretty cool. I don't know if that's ever come up in game, whether characters are right-handed or left-handed. I said fascist smile, didn't I, when I meant to say facsimile? Oops. I do that sometimes. I have words in my head and I just sort of read them without checking in with my brain how they're actually said. The worst one I've ever done is any word that starts with the prefix pseudo. Sometimes I forget to pay attention to the words coming out of my own mouth and just read it as it's written from inside my head, and it comes out very differently. Okay, so Bertie, hello. So, can we change these at this point? It doesn't look like these are changeable yet, That's interesting. Okay, so we've got body types. That's cool. So I think we'll go with that. And we've got different faces. Okay, so for Bertie, we're looking for privileged and punchable. I don't know. I don't seem to be able to... Oh, I can manipulate this a bit. I can't zoom in. Obviously, we're going to have to change hair colour. Yeah, because Bertie's blonde. I think the angry one is probably the most appropriate for Bertie. We'll see. Skin tone. Okay, so you can have a variety there. Hairstyle. Bertie had sort of a mop of hair, as I recall. I think that seems about right, I reckon. I don't know how close we'll be able to get. I don't know what sort of equipment options we have. Let's go with that one. We probably don't want a beard for Bertie. And then the hair colour is blonde. Okay, we've made Bertie right-handed. Right, so we won't spend too long on the appearance one for any of these colours. I don't think that would be it's not the main point of why we're here. We're looking at the mechanical options. Okay, so really interestingly, here we've got a long list of the classes available, and Alchemist is one of them. So we could potentially make an Alchemist character. We're not going to make Cell because of the gender options, but we could explore a character similar to Cell through this game. And there's character archetypes here as well. Now, this is not quite the same as Pathfinder as written. I mean, there are archetypes, but I don't know how much impact they have at first level. And there's so many things on the screen here, and I don't know what they'll do. So we're going to have to explore this as we go. We've got Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Inquisitor. That's an interesting Pathfinder-specific class. Magus, Monk, Paladin. Good, we've got Paladins, Rangers, Rogues, Slayer. I don't even remember what a Slayer is. Sorcerer, good. We're going to need that later. And Wizards. And then there's a whole bunch of... these must be prestige classes as well, which are alternative things to begin with after character creation. Right, so Bertie was a fighter. He was not an Aldori defender. He was not a tower shield specialist, although he did wield a shield. And he was not a two-handed fighter. So let's go with the classic fighter. And then what are these things down here? Fighter proficiencies. And then combat feats at various levels. Okay, so this symbol is showing us where we get feats as we level up. And we can see that this game includes level progression from 1 all the way through to 20. And then we also get other things. Starting at second level, a fighter gets bravery. So these are mechanical abilities that appear in the printed game as well as this computer game. Now, I said earlier, one of the things I think that's important is that you may not want to create a character. I've got armor training and weapon training. Yeah, so these are from the printed game as well. Okay, so we've got armor training and weapon train. Okay, we may not want to create characters exactly the same in a computer game as we would in a game that was designed for real life. Because a computer game is likely to emphasize combat and mechanical interactions slightly more heavily than social interactions, which a real life game may include more of. And so as we design these characters, we'll be getting close to the characters as they were in the show if we can. But we might make some tweaks to try and make them more appropriate for a game we expect to include a bit more combat than we would necessarily expect in the main game. Okay, so yeah, we've got color scheme again. We won't worry too much about that. We're going to go with some pretty basic choices in terms of class and class archetypes for most of our characters, because one of the things we did when making them in Rusty Quill Gaming was to keep them relatively simple, so we wouldn't have to explore too many of the incredibly rich options that Pathfinder provides on audio. But as I said already, it's one of the things I really like about Pathfinder is it provides these options in general. Okay, so what do we have? We've got our arrogant face, melee attacks, range attacks, hit points, initiative, combat maneuver, character doesn't use spells, and various ACs. Okay, and then we can allocate ability points and skill points. Lovely. And these presumably will change, and and we can apply a bonus to one of our abilities because we are a human as well. Interesting. Okay, so and we've got 25 ability points to spend. So let's just shift that down for now. We'll come back to that later. Can we turn it off again so we don't have to see it for a second? No. Okay. So Bertie was built mostly around 2 stats. So Bertie needed high strength and high constitution. He's a classic armoured fighter. He also had a little bit of dex and a little bit of int. But he did not have very much wisdom. So we'll see this as we go through. A lot of characters in RPG have sort of one stat that they keep as 8 because it frees up points to use elsewhere, and because it's interesting to play. It's interesting to play characters that have weaknesses. And as we know about Bertie, one of his weaknesses is that he was very unobservant. Bertie did actually have some charisma, canonically speaking, in character. But we'll see exactly how we want to represent that in game. Now, I feel like we've got slightly more points to spend than Alex initially assigned us in Rusty Quill Gaming, because we haven't. We can actually put this bonus from being human somewhere as well. So, for a classic fighter, we're expecting to use a sword and a shield, and we're not expecting to do too much outside of combat. Now, we've got a little bit of int, just because skill points are useful if we want to do anything outside combat at all. A little bit of charisma, so we can talk to characters. But this is the sort of build that we'd create for a classic fighter. In fact, if we were min-maxing and going for a truly optimal experience, we might even. Oh yeah, okay. So this point system. Now the ability points, you can see when I click, points are not on a one-to-one basis. So in fact, if I drop a stat even lower, it frees up more than a single point. And when stats get to high numbers, it costs more points to actually increase them by 1. And one of the things that a lot of the Rusty Quill Gaming characters did, which is always which if you're playing a game like this is worth doing, is stats that are even are more useful than stats that are odd, because of the way the modifier works. So we can see that a strength of 16 and 17 doesn't change the modifier, and it's the modifier which affects most uses of this stat. And so an even number is when you get to change the modifier. But you get an ability point at level 4. So having one stat that is an odd number, which you're planning to increase at level 4, is often worth including anyway. So this was, and I actually helped James build Bertie many years ago, because James has never really desired engaging with the rules of a role-playing game. And so I know that this is what he emphasised. Having a little bit of dex, even for a non-dex-based fighter, isn't a bad thing. It helps you with initiative. It helps you with defence. But Bertie was built around strength and constitution as two primary things, but Bertie also wanted a little bit of intelligence and a little bit of charisma, and James was very happy to make wisdom his dump stat. Now we've got skills here, and in fact there's way fewer skills in this game than there are in Pathfinder itself, which is very interesting. Or maybe they've just collapsed some of them away from us. No, it looks like this is what we've got. So, in Pathfinder as printed, there's a huge list of skills, and it looks like these are the only ones we have in this game. So they must have collapsed several skills down into categories. So we can read this quick skill descriptions. Athletics is leaping, scaling walls, and swimming. Catch, climb, jump. Mobility, balance and coordination, gymnastics, and tumbling. So that I believe that's called acrobatics in printed Pathfinder, but it's included a few other things as well. Trickery. So that's delicate physical manipulation. So disarm traps and devices, open locks, and sleight of hand. That's very much physical trickery. So I think mobility is. It looks like they've combined, say, acrobatics and climb, which in Pathfinder are two separate things. A lot of these skills include several different skills. Knowledge Arcana and Knowledge World. So Knowledge World doesn't exist in Pathfinder as written, but there are similar things. There's Geography and History as knowledges. Law Nature, I guess that's similar to Knowledge Nature, and Law Religion. So interesting, we've got 4 of the knowledge skills, but 2 of them have been renamed to Law rather than Knowledge. Then we've got Perception, Persuasion, and Use Magic Device. So interestingly, Persuasion, which is a printed skill in Pathfinder, it looks like they've combined in diplomacy, bluff, and intimidation into a single skill, which is interesting. Okay, so what skills did Bertie have? We've got 4 points to spend, and I presume we can only spend a single point in any given skill. Okay, so if I remember correctly, Bertie did actually have quite a few knowledges. He had Knowledge History and Knowledge Nobility, so we'll give him a point in Knowledge World. He definitely did not have any points in Perception. That was a very important part of Bertie's character, is that he was never able to perceive anything. He did have. I don't think he had. Bertie was a child of privilege and was brought up talking to lots of important people, and therefore did have a point in Persuasion, and he had points in Ride, I think. And I think that we're going to have to give this version of Bertie points in both athletics and mobility. Now, mobility isn't super representative, but Bertie did have was, for example, able to climb and I think swim in character, and so we're kind of representing that through athletics. And mobility is just going to have to be the fact that he's not terrible at these things, because we've got that one extra point to spend, basically. Okay, so this seems like a reasonable version of Bertie for use in a computer game. So with this incredibly collapsed skill list, it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to make it much easier to make some characters good at a lot of things, but we'll see. Okay, so what is the next page we have access to? Okay, so choose abilities, and we get, as a human and a level 1 character and a fighter, we get 3 different feats to choose from, which is crazy. Okay. Now, I believe I know what Bertie had at level 1. But I don't know how many of the options exist in-game. Oh, and we can show unavailable ones as well. Oh my god, hopefully there's huge numbers of feats in this game. If it wants to represent Pathfinder accurately, this should be an incredibly long list. Oh, you can see all the wizard-based feats down here at the bottom, which we would absolutely not want to give to Bertie. and then ones we've already got, the simple proficiencies. Oh, look at this list. It's so long. It's so long. What a long list. Yeah, this is why I love Pathfinder. There's so many options to give to a character. Okay. But Bertie, at level 1, had exotic weapon proficiency. And he had the exotic weapon proficiency of Bastard Sword. Because one of the things we wanted Bertie to have was James did not want to optimize Bertie. He didn't want Bertie to be the best version he could be. He wanted Bertie to have made stupid decisions at all points through his life, including in his backstory before he even became an adventurer. And so having a Bastard Sword allowed him to be flashier and slightly and improved him in some ways while not technically being an optimal choice. So he had weapon proficiency Bastard Sword. He had the absolute classic that you give to almost all characters of weapon focus. Is weapon focus an option? I wish I could search this list. There should be weapon focus. Are we not allowed to take it yet for some reason? That's weapon specialization. Oh, weapon focus. It's right at the top. It's already there. Great. That's just great. Okay, weapon focus. They're not quite in alphabetical order, Bryn, because weapon focus was right at the top. Ha 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 ha. Okay, so another thing Pathfinder has in the printed version is something called traits. So along with feats, you get to give a character 2 traits only at character creation. And traits are like mini feats. They're not as good as feats. They have a lot of the same impact. They're about half as good as a feat most of the time. So pomp and pageantry was a trait rather than a feat. And unless I'm very much mistaken, they will not put traits into this game because they have a very small impact, and they're wonderful for customization. They make characters feel different. They give them they're almost like backgrounds in D&D 5. They do give you cool options, and they have these little bonuses which make you feel like a more rounded and more interesting character. But the overall value of them is very low, considering how complex it would be to put them into a game like this. As a software developer, it does feel like it might be too much. And the other thing Bertie had, even from level 1, was power attack. So Bertie's 3 starting feats: weapon proficiency Bastard Sword, weapon focus Bastard Sword, and power attack. And I believe that's all the options we have. And we can see along here when we're going to get more abilities later in the game as we level this character up, which we're not actually going to do. But that's a good start for Bertie. Right, what's on the next screen? Character. I'm not going to type out his full name. He doesn't deserve it. What was his alignment? I think it technically started out as lawful neutral. I'm not certain if it stayed as lawful neutral the whole way through the game. But certainly on his starting character sheet, Bertie was lawful neutral. And then we can choose a voice. And again, there's a binary gender option here, which is a bit of a shame. But I guess that would be one way to create a more complex gender identity for a character, would be to choose one option on the previous binary choice and then the other option here for the voice. Yes, awful neutral. I mean, I feel like in some ways this would not be a bad way to describe Bertie, but we'll choose that for now. I think he's probably.
All this waiting bores me.
I mean, that sounds like Bertie to me, the aggressive voice. Oh, we could even choose a birth date. Why would we ever? Wow. I don't know why that would ever be important, but I love that's a customizability option in the game. So what we don't want to do is accidentally click through and begin the game.
I lead. You
Right.
follow.
Okay. And then we get an excellent final sheet here where we sum up everything we've seen. So we have Bertie, the human fighter, the awful neutral human fighter. And yeah, we get a summary here. We're not going to click complete. We're going to click back, all the way back to the beginning, and then start the next character. But that is what, if you wanted to play a character mechanically similar to Bertie, please don't play a character in other ways similar to Bertie if you're trying to have fun. I mean, why would you do that to yourself? These are the kind of choices you might make in this scene, in this game. Now, what we've learned here is that there are definitely some choices we're going to be prevented from making. So it's really interesting to me that one of the things I love is the customizability of characters with the list of skills in Pathfinder. And that has been reduced for the sake of the computer game quite substantially. And now it looks slightly more similar to 5.0, which only has about a dozen skills, if I remember correctly. So that's really interesting to me. So and obviously that's part of making a game like this. You have to make compromises in order to make something programmable and in order to make something playable. But we've got attributes which work the same in Pathfinder and 5e, and we've made that same point here about even numbers and odd numbers, so that was good. We've got this huge feat list, which I love, and again, this is one of the things I really miss in 5.0 is choosing feats for characters and the customizability there. We've got a lot more options for class than I would have expected. I did not expect class to be this customizable in a computer game. So the fact we've got Alchemist and we've got these 4 different Alchemist variants as class options in this game, I think is really impressive. And I imagine this would create quite a lot of replayability in this game, given just how different some of these classes could be from each other. So I'm a bit disappointed in the race options. I would have absolutely loved there to be a goblin or something else like that. But we've got the basics. We don't have any giant races, and it's interesting we've got Aasimar as an option and not one of the other sort of non-standard ones. So we've very much got the standard half dozen race choices here. And again, I'm using the term race, and I do apologise for that. I'll continue to do so, but bear in mind what I said earlier. And yeah, I would have loved a goblin option or something similar to that, and some slightly different variations there. But yeah, so I think we're going to have to avoid creating Grizzop today, unfortunately. And also, I imagine Grizzop's build is slightly more difficult to achieve. It's going to be really interesting to see with Paladins specifically how well we can do on creation of them, because the way you choose your religion and the things your religion gives you. So, for example, Grizzop chose Artemis as the god he follows, and that means that he was naturally proficient and an expert in using a bow. And I don't know if there will be an equivalent god in this game which you can choose for your paladin to follow that would give you a similar build there. Okay, we're going to make one other character, and then we're going to take a break, guys. I think the next character we're going to make, to explore a bit more, is Zolf. And again, this is not a perfect representation of Zolf, and obviously one of the things that I think was an absolutely wonderful character choice from Ben when he made Zolf was to choose to have Zolf have a disability and have a peg leg, and that led to a lot of interesting events. And obviously, in some episodes of Rusty Quill Gaming, his disability was explored further. And again, unfortunately, that's just not an option we're going to have and be able to choose in this game. And the fact that obviously, so we mentioned pomp and pageantry for Bertie as a really cool little trait that made Bertie a slightly more interesting and rich character through mechanics. Zolf took grief-filled as a trait choice at character creation, and that won't exist in the game as well. And I think Ben has crafted a wonderfully complex, interesting character in a lot of ways through some of these choices that we will not be able to recreate in game. But let's have a look at how we might make Zolf through this lens. And this seems to be the single dwarf portrait. I haven't explored all these options yet, but it does seem like there's only one beardy dwarf picture. Oh, I love that art. I mean, it's not appropriate for Bertie, obviously, even despite the impressive armor. If we were going to make Ed in this game, though, I'd love to use that art for Ed. Look at that. That's gorgeous. Is that a dwarf woman? I think that might be a dwarf woman. But there's only one dwarf man with a beard. That might also be a dwarf woman. Okay, so we're going to choose this portrait for Zolf. And again, we're admitting that none of the choices available to us are going to be super great, but we're going to do the best we can. Okay, so this character apparently is an alchemist, according to their first. Oh, did I just skip class? Okay, so we want a cleric, crusader, heroic. Ecclesiarch? Anil would be able to say this word properly. I cannot. But we're going to go with the basic cleric for Zolf, and we'll see how that goes. Oh, interestingly, it's pre-assigned a bunch of... Oh, no, that's because we've saved them already. Okay, so we're going to have to re-choose a bunch of these. Oh, yeah. So Zolf does not look like that. How does Zolf look? Zolf is also blonde at the beginning of the game, right? But sort of a dirtier blonde than Bertie, if I remember correctly. And definitely doesn't have this hair, and he's going to need a beard too, obviously. What's the biggest beard we have available? Oh my god! Oh my god, you guys! Look at that beard! Oh. Oh, that does change. Someone said, change it to dwarf. That changes it a lot, doesn't it? Welp. Okay, so we've got a whole bunch of different options now. What does Zolf look like at the beginning? I don't remember. It's going to have to be that one, isn't it? That's got like the beard braids. Now, I think, as I recall, Zolf had just two beard braids. Oh, maybe that's more accurate then. That's only got two. That does look quite a lot like Ben's facial hair, though. Well, that one's got a beard braid as well. Oh, no, it's that one. It's that one. That's the Zolf look, right? I think that's the current Zolf look. That's the current Zolf look. And that's the original Zolf look. Oh, interesting. We've got fewer options for hair colour. I think that's Zolf's original hair color. Does that look like Zolf to you guys? I think that might be as good as we're going to get without clicking through a billion different options to see. That feels close enough to Zolf to me to be going on with. Yeah, so I remember I don't seem to have a light blonde option is the problem. I've got kind of a dark brown, a very dark brown, and a sort of gingery brown, what I would describe as dirty blonde, and then like a dark grey. Yeah, so I think that's the best we can do. So I do remember that both Zolf and Bertie were blonde to begin with, and I don't think they were the same type of blonde. Yeah, it's interesting that there's so much customizability in some places and so little customizability in others. And this is one of the things I really, really hate about the Pathfinder and, you know, some of the problematic things. I wish we could just take this away. This makes me really upset. The fact that the dwarfs start with this ability here. I mean, that to me is absolutely awful. I do not like it. I do not like it at all. That's the kind of thing I genuinely might go into the game files and remove, you know, and see if I can remove it from the sort of the you know, depending on exactly how the game works. You know, it might be possible to just delete that line from a couple of game files so it doesn't even show up. Okay, so we're gonna have to press on, and we'll see where we get to. Yeah, that is distressing. I'm sorry about that, guys. Oof. Right. Okay. So I think we've got a representation of Zolf, the appearance of Zolf that we are reasonably happy with. So let's go to our next class. So we chose. Okay. So now we have to choose a deity. Now I don't believe they will have Poseidon on here. How disappointing. So we're going to have to see which I don't know the Pathfinder gods very well. I've never, although I have played a couple of Adri. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I also wish RPGs wouldn't assign racial abilities. Like I just think I think we, you know, are. I think that is a bad principle, and I think almost all of the things that are currently assigned in RPGs as racial properties are background properties. And I think that it would be cool to be like, you know, I was raised by, you know, a group of people who mostly are like this, and therefore I have certain things. I mean, that anyway. Let's not go into it. I think there's people who talk about it better and more well informed than I do, and it's something that I do see people starting to work on, and I do like that. Okay, so god of cities, law, merchants, and wealths. Domains, earth, law, nobility, protection, travel. Favoured weapon, light crossbows. That's interesting. So we talked about the favoured weapon thing, and that doesn't affect clerics, but it does tend to affect paladins a lot. So if for example, as we look through this list of these gods, we find one that would fit Grizzop, that would be great. Unfortunately, we're not going to make Grizzop because we don't have a goblin option, but we've got some interesting things here. Asmodeus, King of Hell, Master of Witches, Prince of Law. Domains, evil, fire, law, magic, trickery, favoured weapon, mace. Callistia, the savoured sting, unquenchable fire, goddess of lust and revenge. Domains, chaos, charm, knowledge, luck, trickery, favoured weapon, rapier. Caden Kalian, god of alcohol, bravery, and freedom. Chaos, charm, good, strength, travel, rapier. Desna, goddess of dreams, luck, stars, and travellers. Now, this is the kind of god, or is this a god or a goddess? I'm not sure. Maybe it's not an important distinction. Oh, it's using she pronouns. Yeah, so it's a goddess. Okay, so interesting. Yeah. So this is the kind of god. Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of gods should be beyond the concept of gender, Bryn. Desna, I think, is the kind of god I would really like to build a character around following in a lot of settings. But we're not looking for a new character for me right now. We're looking for character for Zolf. Luck, stars, travellers. Chaos, good, liberation, luck, travel. The favoured weapon, the star knife. I don't know what a star knife is. That's cool. Erastil. Concerned with family, farming, hunting, and trade. I wonder if this is as close as we would get to... Artemis in this setting. Domains, animal, community, good, law, plant. Is there a favoured weapon for Erastil? Oh. How do I... I can't scroll on the... There we go. Yeah, favoured weapon, longbow. Interesting. So if we were going to make Grizzop, this is probably the god we would have to choose. I think that's as close as we would get. But we've already said we probably won't be making Grizzop today. So we're still looking for Zolf, god of battle, chaos, destruction, glory, strength, and war. God of the storm and sky. Oh, this is interesting. A dualistic deity, a god and a goddess. I like that. That's cool. Air, animal, plant, water, and weather. This seems like it might be as close as we're going to get to Poseidon. Favoured weapon, trident. That's what we're looking for, basically. So I think that's going to be our best choice. And I really like the fact that it's a dualistic god that is both male and female. Gender fluid god. Let's keep looking very quickly. Chaos, destruction, evil, madness. Glory, good, law, sun, war. Favoured weapon, the longsword. That's another dual god, both... Oh no, that looks like just a goddess. That might be a good choice for Ed if we were making Ed in this game. Enlightenment, self-perfection, knowledge, healing, and inner strength. I wonder if this is going to be our best option for Azu. Domains, healing, knowledge, law, rune, and strength. Yeah, I don't think we'll find a goddess of love in this list. That's really interesting, Orcs AJ. That's very cool. Destruction, knowledge, magic, protection, rune, quarterstaff. Charm, death, evil, knowledge, trickery, short sword. Death, healing, knowledge, repose, water, dagger. Chaos, destruction, evil, war, weather. Great axe. So that's got the favoured weapon we would want for Azu, but not the rest of it is not very good. Compassion and peace. Maybe this is more of an Aphrodite. Healing, honesty, redemption. Fire, glory, good, healing, sun. Uses a scimitar. Oh, and this is interesting. This is a favoured weapon, glaive. Oh, and this is a goddess of love. Art, beauty, love, and music. That's interesting. Air, charm, good luck, and protection. No healing. Yeah, we're not going to find... I don't think we're going to find a very good version of Aphrodite. We're going to have to think about whether Shellin is any good, or... What was the other one we had? Irori. Artifice, earth, good law, favoured weapon, warhammer. Gothua. Death, evil, magic, strength, and war. Favoured weapon, scythe. Darkness, death, destruction, evil, law, favoured weapon, flail. Okay, but we've got our choice here. We've got this very cool deity. Gozra is a dualistic deity of nature, a god of the storm and sky, and also a goddess of the wave and surf. Born of the ocean's fury and the wind's wrath, Gozra is a fickle deity. Perfect. What else do we have to choose? Channel energy. We are Zolf, so we channel positive energy, which is a healing ability. I imagine that would be restricted by our alignment choice later, but we don't choose alignment yet. So if I remember correctly in Pathfinder, if you choose an alignment that is good, you only channel positive energy and not negative. If you choose an alignment that is neutral, you choose at character creation, you choose one or the other. And if you choose an alignment which is evil, then you can only channel negative energy, and you can't channel positive energy. And now we select our domains. So I think water seems correct for Zolf. And then we're going to have another choice. Air, animal, plant, weather. Can we pick others? We can. We don't have to choose them from our gods. Luck, madness, magic, mobility, protection, repose, rune, strength, sun, dominion, travel. And we could actually look at the descriptions of the domains more as well. You can manipulate water, mist, and ice. Conjure creatures of water and resist cold. Icicle. I'm pretty sure starting character. The starting character of Zolf could cast Icicle, so I think water was definitely one of Zolf's original domains. That's interesting. Okay, so air. You can manipulate lightning, mist, and wind, and are resistant to electricity damage. That doesn't sound very Zolf. Or does it? Hashtag spoilers. Oh, no, I did want water, but now we're looking at second domain. Animal. You can speak and befriend with animals, and you treat law nature as a class skill, and you get an animal companion. That doesn't seem very Zolfy. Plant. Find solace in the green. Can grow defensive thorns and can communicate with plants. As a swift action, you can enlarge yourself. I mean, I would love to see that version of Zolf, but that doesn't seem accurate to Zolf as we know him. That's brilliant. Oh, hi, honey. Thank you for stopping by. Weather domain. With power over storm and sky. As a stand action, you can create a storm burst. And at 8th level, you become a lightning lord. I mean, that's pretty cool. That, again, doesn't seem super Zolfy. I feel like Zolf's other domain might have been travel. Interesting. No, that doesn't seem quite right. You can gain increased mobility. I have no idea what Zolf's secondary domain was or is. Healing? Was it healing? Yeah, it doesn't look... It may be that it's simply not in this. Yeah, so I think the floating disc spell was an important part of original Zolf. And it doesn't look to me that that is in the game. I'm actually going to give... Oh, I can't. I actually can't. Oh. I can't choose all these other ones. These other ones are there, but they're not available for choice. Okay, so I can actually only choose the from these 4. I think I'm going to have to give Zolf the air domain. Because it's hilarious, even though it's not... None of these are super appropriate. Oh, it's trade. That's really interesting. The islands domain. The islands domain is the thing. Yeah, so my domains are restricted by the god I chose. I thought for a second I could choose domains outside of the god I chose. And as we said, we can't have a one-to-one correspondence between the gods in this game and the gods in the world of RQG. So we make do with the closest equivalent, and we've got the closest equivalent here. So big spoilers for episodes that people may not have listened to yet, is why I'm giving Zolf the air domain as a secondary domain. Because I think it's hilarious. So I would love to give... I would love to give Zolf a healing domain, because Zolf is, it very much plays the role of a healer in the party, but these are my only choices. So air, animal, plant, or weather. I think animal and plant feel very wrong for Zolf. I'm really glad we got water as our first one, because that definitely feels very Zolf. But really, I think our secondary choices are either the air domain or the weather domain. And I think the air domain is as good as we're going to get. And it's kind of cool. Like, it's not a very good representation of Zolf, but it's the best we're going to do in this game. And I think I like it for that reason. Okay, so we're just going to have to reset all these scores. Now you can see again, we've got these certain attribute changes are due to the fact that we have
Hilarious is good. Let's take hilarious.
Oh, great. Thank you. Joe Mendacium. Joe, thank you very much for cheering with 100 bits. That's very sweet of you. Okay, so what do we know about Zolf? So we know Zolf has a decent strength. We know Zolf has a decent constitution. We know that Zolf has a not very good charisma. I believe that Zolf's dex and int were both kind of baseline. I don't actually remember for certain, I'm afraid. If you've got Zolf's character sheet on Patreon, which is back from level 4, you could have a look. But it looks to me like that is going to be a pretty good representation of Zolf. So Zolf was created as a melee fighter, which means much like Bertie, even though it's not quite as important to Zolf, we ended up with strength and con both being very high. But as a cleric, we want wisdom. And I'm almost certain that at level 1, Zolf had a wisdom of 18, which is very important to his character archetype. That feels like, I don't know if that's exactly representative of Zolf's original build. It's possible his int or his dex was a little different. It's possible his strength and his con weren't both 16 at level 1. But he does have loads of hit points, so we definitely want to give him a good con score. And we know at this point that he has enough strength to be a pretty decent melee fighter as well. So I think these are the... this is the stat spread. I don't know if this is a perfect representation of Zolf, but this feels reasonably accurate to Zolf's character as we understand him, and it should be good for a game. So I think in a computer game we do look slightly more at sort of min-maxing than we necessarily would in a real life game. In a real life game, you want to be able to participate in all aspects of the game, and so you want to be. You don't want to be actively bad at anything and have to keep stepping back from certain scenes. Whereas in a computer game, the replayability comes from different characters and playing through the game multiple times with different characters potentially. And so we don't worry so much about being well-rounded, and we might go for a slightly more min-max. Okay, so what do we think Zolf had? We've only got 2 skill points, which again feels pretty accurate to Zolf. And I believe that we're going to put them in Law, Religion, and Perception to represent Zolf's starting skills. Zolf definitely knows stuff about religion in the show, and that's very appropriate for a cleric character. And Zolf had very high perception right from the beginning as well. Yeah, so in a live game, I wouldn't say 8 charisma makes you actively bad. Like they both played the characters very well, and they weren't sort of guaranteeing themselves. What I more mean is making a character who has terrible stealth, for example, can be a big handicap, because if the party wants to pursue a stealthy approach to a situation, having a very bad stealth can mean that your character can't participate. Whereas in the social situations, a simple -1 on charisma is less important. It's not so bad that it prevents you, and they both played it very true while contributing to the story. I think that's not a problem. Okay, so that's how we'd probably split Zolf's points to make a Zolf-style character. Abilities. I have no idea what Zolf had for early feat choices. So we're going to have to do our best to make something that seems appropriate. I might check my notes. I took some notes earlier. That may pause the sound from the game for a second. Let's have a look at my notes on Zolf and see if we can work out what his feat was early on. I'm really upset that we can't take Grief-Filled. Grief-Filled, as I said, is a trait. Traits don't exist in this game, which makes sense as a programming choice. But I think that... yeah, it makes sense that they haven't bothered programming in the amount of cost to program them versus the bonus would be quite small. It looks to me like Zolf's 2 earliest feats were Iron Will and Lightning Reflexes. No, not Lightning Reflexes. There's a similar named one. There's Combat Reflexes. Yeah, so Combat Reflexes gives you additional attacks of opportunity. And Zolf had a reach weapon, which meant that the idea was he would be able to cast spells on his turn, and then if people move towards him on their turn, he'd be able to attack them while they were doing that. But Iron Will, I think, is a good first feat choice. It's simple, but it has a nice positive effect that's pretty standard. +2 bonus on will saving throws. So we'll go with Iron Will early on as our starting features. And notice that Bertie had 3 feats at level 1 due to the combination of class and race, whereas Zolf only has a single one, but we've got to choose a lot of other stuff for Zolf. Oh, and now we have to choose spells. Oh, nothing to choose. That's interesting. We don't seem to have any level 1 spells. That surprises me. These are our cantrip level 0 spells. Oh, yes, over here. Level 1. Okay, interesting. So how do we choose our spells? This is the first time I've seen this part of the interface. We are a cleric, so that means we may just get all of these and we have to prepare them slightly differently. Nothing to choose. So maybe it's saying we don't need to bother for now, and that we just have access to all these spells, and we'd have to choose which spells to prepare each day at a different point in the game. We'd probably want, for example, Cure Light Wounds at the very least, and then we'd want to think about what other choices made sense for Zolf. But it looks like nothing to choose spells wise. And so then we've got our character. So we would call Zolf. I don't remember. Does anyone remember what Zolf's alignment was? Yeah, there was a spell called Sickness, which seems close to the scurvy spell Zolf had in the early days. I feel like maybe Zolf was neutral good or lawful good. I don't seem to be able to click lawful good. That's interesting. Yeah, not every square is available to me, but let's go with neutral good. That's probably close enough. I feel like
We will be victorious.
that does not sound like Zolf.
Solid plan. Enemy near.
Yeah, reserved is probably as close as we're going to get for Zolf.
Let us bide our time.
So this would be what we think Zolf's character sheet looks like for an equivalent in this game. So we've got a lot of interesting stuff here, and we've seen that there's a bit more to choose when we start to choose more complex class options than just... that's a good point, yeah. So alignment is almost certainly confined by deity choice. So your deity and your alignment will have to match. Okay, guys. So we've been going about an hour and a half now. We've only made 2 of the characters. We're going to have to start to speed up if we want to make them all. Which characters do we still have to make? We still want to make Azu. We still want to make Sasha. And we still want to make Hamid. So those are the only 3 we're going to manage to make. So we've chosen not to make Sail, not to make Grizzop, because we don't have the options available to us that we would need to faithfully recreate those characters. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break here. So get yourself a drink of water, use the facilities if you need to, and we will be back very shortly, and we'll continue making characters. And hopefully it won't take us the remaining hour and a half of the stream just to make characters. And we might actually get to play a bit of the game. But I did advertise this as character creation stream specifically, so perhaps that is all we will do today, and I might be applying for more slots here on the Rusty Quill streaming channel to actually play the game. Okay, guys. So thank you so much, and yeah, I'll see you all again in a few minutes, I hope. Hey everybody, I'm back. Me again. Your old pal, Bryn. Was that break long enough? That was a long enough break, right? Everyone's fine. Some people may filter back shortly, but that's good. I hope everyone is feeling hydrated, has taken their meds today, and has whatever food they might need. I saw you all appreciating April's amazing break screen art while I was gone. I agree, it is absolutely wonderful. I adore it. I want to give a quick shout out as well to Sonia or Cornflake, because they are the one who made me the little knitted Hamid as a gift, and it's wonderful and I love it, and it's now ended up in the display behind Anil when he's on stream, and indeed in some of the break screen art that we've got. I adore him. He's wonderful and cuddly, and it's a really, really sweet, thoughtful gift. And I love that little knitted Hamid has made his way into the art for this crocheted rather than knitted. Sure, I don't know the difference between those two things. No, I'm good, Anil, but thank you. But yeah, that's one of my favourite little touches in all the wonderful, wonderful art April has created. But I feel like Sonia should also have the occasional shout out for making the little crochet Hamid as well. Maybe when we start making Hamid in the game in a little while, Anil, maybe you should bring him in there then to be our mascot for that section. Okay, while I was gone during the break, Molière, you gave out 5 further Tier 1 community gift subs. Thank you so much, Molière. You're very, very generous, and we appreciate it a great deal. I didn't do my various plugging of Rusty Quill earlier. I did. I told you about Rusty Quill and the podcast we make. But I say, if you want to support Rusty Quill further, and again, most of you probably know this already, but yeah, there is, you can sub to this channel or donate to this channel through Twitch. There should be somewhere beneath me, there should be some sort of donation button as well, if you want to donate directly to Rusty Quill. Rusty Quill has a Patreon, which is the best place to sign up. You pay a small amount every month and you get various benefits, such as early access to ad-free episodes and occasional bonus content from across the arms of the different production arms of Rusty Quill. For whichever bit of Rusty Quill you're interested in, there's occasional bonus content there. And if you can't afford to do any of those things, please do not worry about it. We appreciate everyone who's part of the community, and we do encourage everyone to give and gift and donate responsibly. But you can always join the community on our Discord, follow us on Facebook, tweet us on Twitter at The Rusty Quill. And now I'm just quoting Alex again, because he does the little announcement at the end of every episode, and I've listened to it several hundred times at this point. But yeah, if you ever feel like coming say hi on Discord, I hang out there a reasonable amount, and various other ways of chatting with Rusty Quill people and fellow Rusty Quill fans. But yeah, and just thank you so much for being here today, everyone. Well, I basically just nerd out at you. I love being a nerd, and I love doing all these nerdy things, and it just makes me very happy that other people like to join in sometimes. Alrighty, guys. So, what we are doing today is we are doing character creation in Pathfinder Kingmaker, and we are creating various PCs that we have in the Rusty Quill Gaming podcast, and that we've had throughout the 160 episodes of the show. There's been a total of 7 main characters, and we are creating 5 of them here today in this game, given the limitations and we're exploring the mechanical way to build characters similar to this in this context. I hope you're all enjoying it as much as I am. God, I just like the numbers, guys. I know it's weird. I like the numbers when I'm playing an RPG. I love character sheet management. There's just something so wonderful about leveling up in an RPG and just watching all the numbers go up a little bit. I don't know why it makes me so happy when it does. Oh god, yeah, we're running out of time. Okay, let's get this show on the road. Right. Okay, so this is not a human portrait, but I feel like it is quite a cool representation of Sasha because it is in shadow. And oh, I thought that was like scarring on the face, but it looks like a tattoo of text. So maybe that's not such a good choice for Sasha. We've got bold Sasha. Maybe this is as good as we're going to get out of these portrait options. That's definitely not Sasha. There doesn't seem to be any stealthy female portraits really. I'm gonna go with this one. So I don't think this is intended as a portrait of a human woman, but it is a woman in sort of leathers, and that there is markings on her face, as we know that Sasha has scars, and I like that it's sort of shaded, and it does look like this could be a person. Or the background is obviously rural rather than urban, and we know that Sasha is much more comfortable in urban environments. I think again with the limit of these portraits, and if I'd spent more time preparing, I could have used the official Rusty Quill art and tried to replace some of these portraits, which would have made me very happy. But we haven't managed to do that, so we're just going to have to go with rough approximations. And I mean, given that we made that Bertie, I mean, this is going to have to do for Sasha, I think. So we'll have to make do. Okay, so what do we know about Sasha's build?
The path is clear.
Oh no. We want to go right back to the beginning. So Sasha was a human. Female human, specifically. And colour scheme should be black on black. Hair. Pretty short. Probably it's going to be that one. Yeah, we'll go with that one. I don't know if that's perfect for Sasha. It perhaps should be a little longer. How does that one look? No, I don't think it would be that long. Oh, maybe that's a better representation of Sasha's hair, because it's not quite crew cut short. And I believe her hair was very dark as well, so it's probably that colour. Yeah, I think that's going to have to do. And again, we're not going to worry too much about the appearance. You just want it to be, you know, at least a semi-decent representation of a character. Thanks for stopping by. I've just seen someone saying bye in chat. I appreciate everyone who's come and joined me today. Right, so Sasha. No, stop clicking next. We're going to have to go through the screen by screen. So Sasha was a rogue. Why is Paladin greyed out? Oh, it's probably because probably because of the alignment we chose earlier. Eldritch Scoundrel, Knife Master, or Thug. So Sasha is a classic rogue. We could make Sasha a Knife Master, which is appropriate because Sasha was a master of knives. But Sasha's build was actually pretty versatile. Although she ended up being very, very good with knives, I don't know if we want to explore the slightly more complicated build available to us through the Knife Master archetype. Oh, Joe Mendecium with a cheer for 100 bits. Thank you, Joe. I'm glad you had fun today. That's really good. So yeah, Knife Master would be interesting, but we're going to stick with the classic rogue for now because that will be actually be more similar to Sasha's build. So guys, the reason I'm using past tense is because I'm creating all these characters as they were at level 1. And none of the characters are level 1 anymore. So past tense is appropriate because I'm creating them as they were at the beginning of the game, which was 5 years ago. And the builds can be potentially very different to how their builds currently are. And therefore, that's what we're recreating. We're recreating level 1 characters. So we're going to go with the classic rogue. So right, let's reset all these ability points again. And the skill points. And look at how we make Sasha. Right, Sasha was built around 2 primary stats. Sasha wants a very high dex and a very high int. Sasha had an absolutely absurd number of skill points at all times. Sasha, I believe, has 8 strength and 8 charisma. So this time we've got 2 stats that we've left intentionally low to give us plenty of points to make other stats good. Sasha didn't ever have a very good con that I recall. I don't remember if it was 10 or if it was 12. It was probably one of the two. But Sasha did also have an excellent wisdom alongside her dex and her int. In fact, maybe I should check my notes very quickly. Yeah, so I think Sasha's con might have been 12. I think she did take a con of 12 just to have additional hit points. Yeah, so this looks like a reasonably good spread. So we've got very high dex, very high int, decent wisdom, and a little bit of con just for the extra hit points as well. And we've got our bonus from being human as well, which I think we're going to apply to dex. So dex is going to be the primary combat ability for a rogue character like this in this game. So we're going to want plenty of dex. It's going to help us stay alive. It's going to make attacks easier, and it's going to interact with all the various abilities and knowledges we're about to give this character. We've actually got 2 ability points remaining, which is interesting. We've underspent very slightly. Now, we can't bump our dex or our int any higher because it's too expensive to do both of those 2 things. And we notice we don't currently have an odd number, and we do like to have a single odd number on our sheet for later leveling up. I don't remember if I checked this for the Zolf build we did. Did we have an odd number on Zolf's build? I think we'll use wisdom. I think wisdom is primarily used for perception, and Sasha's very perceptive, very aware of her surroundings. So I think wisdom as the odd number makes a good thing. And then basically, with 8 skill points and only this many skills, we can basically have a single skill point, which is all we can assign at level 1, in almost every single skill. Which is pretty accurate to Sasha as she was created in paper for the show. I remember Lydia having something like 14 skill points a level when she was leveling up. And Lydia actively struggled to always spend all her skill points because there were so many. And she just had every skill coming out of her ears. So very skilled all the time. And it was absurd. It was absolutely absurd. And you can see, yeah, we've basically given this Sasha character a skill point in almost every point in the game. The only thing she doesn't know is magic, nature, and religion, which makes sense. I mean, if we remember Sasha, how she was at the beginning of Season 1, her knowledge of the world was pretty limited to under London. And it was very cool to watch her sort of go outside that context for the first time and how that developed in the show. Okay, and we get some feat choices here. So we do that. Iron Will was the thing we chose for Zolf. Now, Sasha, I believe, early on, had 2 feats that made her build work. The first one she had was 2-weapon fighting, so that she could wield a dagger in each hand, rather than only wielding one. The other one she had was weapon finesse. And weapon finesse allows you to use your dexterity to wield weapons rather than your strength, which is really important. But the thing is... Oh, we've got weapon finesse automatically. Oh, that's nice. I don't think that's normal. Is that because we chose a certain class archetype? Wow, rogues get weapon finesse for free. That's very cool. I did not realise that. Okay, so now we're going to have to choose a new feat for our level 1 Sasha. We don't want point-blank shot. So point-blank shot is about ranged attacks, and Sasha was not a ranged attack person. Maybe one... I would have expected a rogue to have medium armor proficiency, so maybe it's going to be that one. We could take one of the feats that enhances her skills, because we know that Sasha at level 1 had extremely good skill usage. Oh, there's I don't recognise the name of this feat, but maybe this is the next stage of 2-weapon fighting. So maybe we should take that. So I know that Sasha took weapon-focused daggers pretty early on as well, but I don't believe that's available at level 1. I imagine that was going to be down the bottom. Weapon focus, yeah, because you can either be a level 1 fighter or higher level in a different class. Right, so we got weapon finesse for free, so we don't need to spend our feat choice on it. That is very, very interesting. I think double slice is what we're going to take, because that essentially is part of the feat tree, which includes 2-weapon fighting, and makes our ability to use a dagger in each hand better at all times. I think that's going to be the most accurate way of representing a level 1 Sasha in this game. Although a skill focus or one of the feats that makes us better at other skills, like stealthy, for example, would be very appropriate too, because it would improve. So crowd dodger was a trait. So crowd dodger was Sasha's equivalent of Bertie's pomp and pageantry, or Zolf's grief filled. Yeah. So again, remember those don't exist in the game. Accomplished sneak attacker. That's interesting as well. Which just increases our sneak attack. Yeah, so I think let's take double slice as our best way to represent a level 1 Sasha. And again, maybe if we were in a real life game, we'd take something that improved our skills, because we'd expect in a real life paper game skill usage to be a bit higher, and we expect in the computer game for combat to be a bit more common. So again, maybe we wouldn't make that exact same choice in a real life game, but that feels reasonably appropriate for taking a level 1 Sasha for the purposes of this game. I imagine there won't be spells or anything else to choose for a rogue, but maybe there's rogue talent. Do we get that at level 1, or is that level 2 thing? So okay, Sasha took bomb making quite early as a rogue talent, and some other stuff that enhanced her acrobatics rolls and her ability to sort of dodge around in combat scenes. But we did, those options don't unlock to level 2, and currently we're only creating a level 1 character.
Let us bide our time.
I mean,
no contest.
That doesn't sound very much like Sasha.
This will hurt.
That sounds a bit more like Sasha. I believe Sasha may have been chaotic good. Not much respect for laws, but certainly some the instinct to do good was.
My skills exceed. This doesn't suit me.
Hold on. Quick! Else we miss all the fun.
A test of my abilities. No mistakes.
These voice lines are
Let us be careful.
interesting.
Aim carefully. I feel
Yeah, I'm not sure any of these fit Sasha that well, sadly, but we've got we're not going to play the game through as Sasha, so we'll make do with the choices available to us. So again, we would name this character. I'm not saving these. I don't know why I'm bothering to rename every time, but we'd make this character called Sasha, and I think Chaotic Good was Sasha's alignment to begin with. It may have been Chaotic Neutral. I'm not 100% sure. Again. But again, you may not want to in a paper game we sort of ignore alignment a bit. We didn't pay too much attention to the alignment system. We don't think it's that, you know, I don't like the alignment system. This idea of assigning people as good or evil is not really that useful. It's, you know, morality is much more complex in the real world, but we make do for the purpose of the game. In the paper game, we tend to ignore alignments most of the time. In a computer game, they may come up more, so you might have you might want to pay a little more attention to it, but we'll see. Okay, so we're about to create Azu, so we're going to switch this to lawful good because we know that paladins have to be lawful good. I believe paladins have to be lawful good, so we're going to switch that to lawful good so that when we go back to the beginning and start creating Azu, it has the right choice there. Okay, so let's see how close we can get to Azu. So this armor looks pretty pink, and this lady orc is wielding a big axe. Unlike Azu, this lady has lots of hair, but this is not bad considering some of the choices we've had to use for other characters in this game. This is not bad. It's the wrong skin color for Azu, but again, it's about as good as you're going to get, sort of in a game where you've only got rough approximations through this portrait system. So as I said, so in our game, Azu is an orc. But in this game, there isn't really a pink. Which one seems pinkest to you guys? It's sort of purpley. Yeah, these are all reds. So in our game, we use the half-orc rules to create characters that are orcs because we don't think the system distinction between those two things are that good. So we use the half-orc rules, and we use them to make full orc characters, and we're going to use the same system here. So technically, in game, in the game designation, this character Azu is going to be a half-orc, but for our purposes, this is a full orc character, and because we don't think the distinction is useful. Now, interestingly, of course, Azu is described as a dark brown skinned woman. And that is not an option here. We have various shades of green. So in this game, all orcs are represented as green. I guess that's not very green. I'm actually going to choose class quickly because that is going to change how it appears slightly. Oh, it's changed my colours too. That's irritating. Oh, but that's closer to pink this time, isn't it? That's good. Even though it's a purple, that's much closer to pink. And so that doesn't seem to be really amongst the options we have here. So we're going to have to make do as best we can in terms of skin tone. I feel like probably that one is closest. Azu is not angry. Azu is adorable and lovely, and it upsets me that all these faces are sort of angry looking. Is that a smile, like a slightly lopsided smile? I can't quite tell on this model, actually. I'm going to go for the largest option possible. That one is much taller. I love it. Yeah. Azu is big and awesome. And then obviously Azu has no hair at all. I think you're probably right, Aranos. Sadly, as we've discussed, the race system is not a good thing, and the stereotypes and the kind of the assigning values and properties to people because of this is a very it's a very upsetting way to interpret it, that lens, and we're hoping that role-playing games are moving in a positive direction in that sense. But yeah, that seems like as good as we're going to get in terms of representation of Azu. So yeah, let's move forward with that. I think that's going to be close enough. I love Azu, and this character makes me this character makes me think of the character I love. Close enough, I think. Yeah, that I'm going to interpret this one as a lopsided grin, and that's gonna make me happy. Okay, so moving on. So Azu is a paladin, not a divine hunter. That sounds a lot more like Grizzop. A hospitaller, healing the poor, giving aid and succor to those in need. I mean, that does sound like Azu, but I think we're going to stick with the basic paladin class because it should be the simplest. So let's look at points for Azu. Now you can see different classes require a different number of skills as well. That is really weird. +2 dex for being... Oh, no, that's because of this. Right, okay, good. So we're definitely not going to want that. Let's just move that down there. Now, I don't... okay, now I don't know... Oh, is Helen here? Yeah, so we're just gonna see. So, from what I remember, I'm pretty sure Azu has dexterity 8. And that is the stat that Azu is lacking in, and it has caused occasional problems. But Azu is a big, strong woman, and has 16 in strength, and possibly is it a 14 con? Because I know a paladin also require. And remember, we've seen this before. Basically, any character that's going to be in melee a lot wants these two attributes: wants strength and con to be pretty high. A paladin also relies on charisma, and Azu is lovable and lovely and beautiful, and that is often represented in game by a high charisma score. So we're also going to make sure Azu has a nice high charisma score. Now, what I don't know about Azu is what her int and wisdom are. But we can still see we've still got several points to spend here, so we might be able to go a little bit higher on some of these. Okay, so we've got a nice high strength, and we could actually, in fact, go higher with con, maybe. Okay, we can't get con to 16. That's a bit upsetting with this build. We could go like that, but then we don't have an odd number. Oh, we could leave strength at 17. So remember, this won't be an absolutely accurate representation of your character sheet. Int 12, wisdom 14. Okay, so let's make up some of those points again. Oh, I don't know if we're going to be able to afford all of these, Helen. Con is only 12. Now that's interesting. That's certainly not how I would design a melee character. This is why Ben has so many more hit points than you. So con is only 12. Interesting. So Helen has informed us that we've got lots of strength and then sort of medium everywhere else. No, that's fair enough, Helen. I mean, it's your choice fundamentally. I just want Azu to win, and I love that Azu is stronger than Zolf, and Ben is always like, oh, the same mechanically. That because it makes me happy, and I want the same for Azu in terms of con. It would just be hilarious if you had more hit points than Mr. Ben. I've got loads of hit points, Meredith. I love Azu. I love Azu so much, you guys. Currently, I own a lot of Rusty Quill t-shirts, as most of you know. I own some group shot ones. I own some company logo ones. I own some Hamid ones. I own a single Azu t-shirt as well, because Azu makes me so happy. Right, so we've still got some points to spend here. Maybe charisma goes up? Yeah, let's keep charisma high, because Paladins having lots of charisma is just excellent. But maybe it should be strength, because she is a very strong lady. Okay, Helen, I'm going to ask you here. We've got a tiny touch more points to spend. What do you want us to increase with our final points? Because remember, this is a level 1 character, so it's going to be a bit different to your current character sheet, because your current character sheet is a level 9 character sheet. So it's not going to be a perfect representation. Yeah, okay. So Helen is happy to take more con. Perfect. Okay, interesting, we don't have an odd number here, and we would have liked an odd number, really, to increase at level 4, but we can live with that. So we've got a really interesting spread of stats here. We haven't pushed any single stat really, really high, but we've got several decent stats. And we've got this weakness in dexterity, which is often a slightly poor choice for a very combat-focused character. It hasn't been a big hindrance to Azu, but just occasionally it has come up, and it has been a slight problem. And Helen's really made hay out of it, in my opinion. So I think that's been great. Right, now we've got 4 skill points to spend as well. I don't know exactly where to put them for Helen. I think Helen... Persuasion. Azu is a very charismatic character. I don't know if... the skills, remember, Helen, in the game are not exactly related on a one-to-one basis with the skills on Pathfinder. You might have Intimidate, but Intimidate comes under Persuasion in this game. So I think Azu, as a charismatic and lovely character, should have a point in Persuasion, and in Knowledge Religion as well. I think basically any character that is a follower of a god or a goddess is probably going to want to have some points in Religion. Mobility, Trickery, and Stealth don't really sound like Azu. We could definitely give you a point in Athletics to represent you're very strong and athletic as a person. We could use Magic Device, or maybe Knowledge World, or maybe Perception. Azu is quite perceptive, although the dice don't seem to always agree, because they don't quite do to Helen what they did to James, and constantly roll terribly on perception checks. Despite the fact your perception score is fine, your ability to roll well in perception is a bit rarer. So yeah, I think athletics, religion, perception, and persuasion all make sense for Azu as skills in this game specifically. Now, of course, we never encountered Azu as a level 1 character. Azu joined the character a bit later in the game, and therefore, we don't know exactly what choices would have been made at level 1 specifically, but we seem to have two... no, we have a feat and then a deity selection. So the game is recommending weapon focus, which would not be a bad thing, and I don't know exactly what feats Azu has, but I think a lot of them do relate to the use of the giant battle axe. And I think that weapon focus is a decent way to represent that. Now, Azu, I think, does have in-game have cleave, and cleave will not be available to us at the moment, but if we took power attack, it would be available later, so that could also be something we take. And you saw when we were building the mechanical side of Bertie earlier, power attack was something we took for Bertie at level 1 as well, and any character that wants cleave and wants to be hitting things hard with a melee weapon as a primary combat thing, power attack is a useful skill, even if you don't always want to use power attack itself that often, because it opens up useful options later in the game. Yes, and Vital Strike is a good option for you. So yeah, there you see cleave, and it requires power attack. Maybe we should take power attack, but we could pick it up later, and we could take weapon focus to focus on your giant battle axe. But I think let's take power attack, even if it's not a great level 1 choice for this character, because it opens up cleave later. And there's plenty of other things we could take here if we were interested in that. Now, we can see that our list of deities is lower this time, because we're being a lawful good paladin as well. Now, I think that when we were looking through the list earlier, we looked for Zolf, and we found a deity of weather and storms, and that was a pretty good fit. Now, we definitely don't have a terribly good fit for the goddess of love and Aphrodite in our game. But the two we looked at earlier were either Irori or Shellin. So Helen, you might have to weigh in here as well. So Irori, known as Master of Masters, the Enlightened One and the Perfect Human, the god of enlightenment, self-perfection, knowledge, healing, and inner strength. The followers claim that once a mortal who achieved absolute physical and mental perfection and thus attained divinity. One of the core gods, if not the most powerful deity of the pantheon, domains healing, knowledge, law, rune, and strength. And the favoured weapon is unarmed strike. There's also Shellin. Shellin, also known as the Eternal Rose, the Eternal Maiden, and the Incorruptible, is the goddess of art, beauty, love, and music. Focuses just as much on attention on internal beauty and as external. Also promotes the creation of art and the composing and performance of music. The goddess of love encourages the proliferation of that feeling in all its forms. She is not the goddess of sexuality, lust, or fertility. Poor choice. Aphrodite is the god of all these things. And makes a very clear distinction between love and sexuality, though she does not in any way discourage erotic love. The few paladins who worship her practice courtly love. Domains air, charm, good luck, and protection, and the favoured weapon is glaive. Now, neither of these are a perfect representation of the beliefs Azu has in our campaign, or the goddess she follows in our campaign, but these are the two options that we can look at. So, Irori or Shellin. Any thoughts, Helen, since you're here? Okay, we're going to go with Shellin based on Azu's recommendation. I think both of those would be interesting. And there's a lot of gods in this game, a lot of deities, and it would be potentially very interesting to choose different ones of them for different characters and explore all these different builds. We can see there's huge amounts of customizability in choices in this game. Spells, I don't think we get any spells at level 1, so nothing to choose, which means that, it's kept. Has it kept the other things we chose? It hasn't. It's changed. Interesting.
I failed.
So everything else seems to be the options we've chosen for Azu. That's good. But on this screen, we're still showing the thing we chose for Sasha. Now, which voice do we want? I feel like Brave.
Be defeated. We won't falter. Strike with all your might.
This sounds enough like Azu to me.
Let's move. I'm wounded.
I like that. Okay, so okay, now the picture's updated, and we would call this character Azu. And this is what Azu's character sheet would look like in this game. So an Azu that never existed in our game. We've never met a level 1 Azu, and yeah, I love this. This is such a good build, and I think Azu is a great character in general. Okay, guys. About 45 minutes left on the stream, and it's finally time to go back to the beginning and make my own special boy. Let's see what options the game gives us. Now, having clicked through all these pictures, I think the best picture for Hamid, and it's not great, but I feel like the best picture for Hamid is this one. Now, I think this is rain on this character's face rather than tears, but we all know that early Hamid did a lot of crying. This seems accurate. Now, unfortunately, and this is definitely a halfling, and you can tell from the bare feet. Now, unfortunately, this character is not the correct skin color for Hamid, but we'll live with that. I think a small crying magical halfling is close enough. We'll have to make do. Okay, so this is the one we're actually going to play the game with as well. So we want to make sure we get this one as accurate as possible. So Hamid is a male halfling. I wish I could zoom in. He's so small. Look at him. He's so small. Hamid is a skinny boy, and Hamid likes purple and green. Do we want purple main and green secondary, or green main and purple secondary? And which skin tone is correct for Hamid? We need to change the hair looks so wrong. I think it's going to be that one. There There we go. That's better. That's better. I like the colour selections as well. We've got a kind of nice variety of greens and purples. Maybe we want slightly darker green and a slightly brighter purple. No, because we want the purple to be nice and bold too. Okay. Let's see if we can amuse everyone. Ha! No, there's no moustache option. I couldn't give him a moustache even if I wanted to, everyone. And obviously Hamid in-game is clean-shaven. Okay, this seems pretty accurate to Hamid. I think this is about as good as we're going to get. So let's proceed and look at Hamid's build. Class Sorcerer. Okay, so let's see what the other options here are as well. Notice there's a lot fewer choices here in terms of abilities we gain as we level up. But that's because a lot of our choices are going to be based around spells instead. And we haven't had to make many spell choices with the other... Oh. They did change. What did we have before? I actually quite like that outfit, though. That's a lovely mix of the green and purple, which is what Hamid actually has. I really like that outfit. That's very cool. But yes, the colours did change. Okay, so there's various options for Sorcerer. Imperial Sorcerer, heavily powered, derives from insight rather than force of personality. Creatures than capriciousness, or knowledge. Magic comes from knowledge and traditions that accumulate in your bloodline. And we are a classic, as Hamid, we are a classic Sorcerer. So I think that's going to be fine. And then we get our bloodline choice. Yeah, I was just saying we haven't had to make many choices of spells with other characters. Paladins at level 1 don't get spells. Spells only come later. And for a cleric, they know all the spells, and it's about which ones they prepare rather than which ones they have access to in general. But we're going to have to make plenty of spell choices for Hamid. Now, we all know Hamid is a draconic bloodline, and lovely. We've got so many... There's not that many choices of bloodline here. In fact, there's only abyssal, arcane, celestial, draconic, elemental, fey, infernal, serpentine, or undead. But under elemental, there are 4 choices, and under draconic, there's a huge number of different choices. And since clearly draconic is the best choice, the choice that everyone should always take when playing a sorcerer in Pathfinder, I won't say the same about D&D 5.0. I know that they've changed things up quite a lot. We are definitely going to choose draconic, and they even have both the chromatic and metallic dragons. If I remember correctly, Hamid is a brass dragon. I used to get it confused early on whether he was bronze or brass, but I'm pretty sure he is brass. So, Keyflowers, I've been talking a lot today about my experience of the different D&D systems and Pathfinder and my comparisons. So the first sort of 20 minutes of the stream, that was all I was talking about. So I'm referencing it as D&D 5.0 just to make it clear which one I'm talking about, since we talked about 3 and 3.5 and 2 and 4 all at the beginning of the stream. Yeah, so we are a brass dragon, and I'm so happy that have that option. I thought I might have to choose. They would only have the chromatic dragons, and I might have to choose red, but they have all the metallic dragons as well. I'm so happy I get to be brass here too. Right, so our mechanical build. notice that halflings get bonuses to both dexterity and charisma, and that's great because we want both of those skills. So we are a sorcerer, which means charisma is incredibly important to us, and Hamid is a social character. You know, it's one of his primary abilities, so we absolutely can't live with charisma less than 16, and we may even want to pump it up a bit further if we have spare points at the end. Hamid is a very low strength character, and strength is at 8. Hamid also actually has a pretty high dex too, and that's important because it helps keep you alive. And again, as I said before, I would expect a computer game version to be a bit more focused on combat, and therefore I definitely want plenty of dex to survive through combats, because I'm not going to have very many hit points, my little squishy boy. I want to be able to survive things. So actually, I think Hamid started with a dex of either 15 or 16. We'll leave it at 15 for now. We'll see if we can push it up to 16. Con is not going to be terribly useful to us, but given how few hit points we're going to have at any given time, we do want a little bit. So I think Hamid's con is 12. And Wisdom, I chose to go neutral on. Leave it at 10. It's not a strength, but it's not too big a weakness either. Now, Int is not vital to the character. It's not necessary for a sorcerer to have Int as part of their build. But I like having characters with high Int because I love having skill points in Pathfinder. Now, it's not quite as important here for a character in this game because there's fewer skills, but I want to have as many skill points as I can achieve, and I'm a bit disappointed about the number that I can have. And so we're gonna make Int our third high stat. So this is what Hamid's build looks like. Strength we're almost never going to use. We're never going to get in a melee fight. If we're in a melee fight, things have gone horribly wrong. And so we're going to leave it at 8. Con, we just want a few hit points. Wisdom, well, we'd love to have in fact, we can afford an extra point, so maybe we'll just pump Wisdom, although it won't give us any benefit. Might as well. Wisdom, we would love it to be a bit higher, but we're not focused on it. We're not worried about it. The things we want are Charisma, because that's our absolutely primary, most important stat. We're going to... I wonder if what I could do... I could push Charisma all the way up to 18 by having that spread of abilities. Yeah, so we want Int just because it's useful to have skill points. Now, that's probably less important in this game. But that was my justification for having a high Int. And also, I was playing a character with an extensive educational background. And, Int really is not representative of intelligence in Pathfinder as much as it is representation of education. So I felt that was appropriate. Now, Dexterity is going to help us keep us alive, and it's going to make our spells slightly more accurate, so they hit the right things more often. And Charisma is just absolutely fundamental to the character. The character needs to be able to talk to people, because that's one of their primary skills. And it also means that, and it also is going to make their spell casting more powerful. So in fact, this is a slightly different build to what I went with when I first created Hamid as a level 1 character. Because at level 1, I didn't have a charisma of 18. I'm pretty sure it was 16. And I think that was my build. But then I think that's because we were given fewer points to play with than... the game is giving us here. So we're gonna make a slightly improved version of level 1 Hamid and bump his charisma all the way up to 18. And we're gonna hope that he can survive to level 4. And at level 4, he'll take the plus a point in Dex to give him a Dex of 16 and help keep him alive more easily. Now we only got 4 skill points, which is a bit disappointing because actually we had a few more skill points in game. Hamid puts skill points in Persuasion. That's going to be the fundamental one. Knowledge Arcana. He knows about magic in the world. Perception. So although his wisdom isn't high, he is reasonably perceptive about the world. And then I would love to put points in Mobility. Or Trickery. Or Stealth. None of these would be bad for Hamid, and in game, Hamid has a little bit of all of these, but obviously way behind, say, Sasha, who was brilliant at all these things. But something that's not really come up is Hamid does have Use Magical Device, in paper as well as in this game. It hasn't been a big deal in Alex's world, but Hamid does have sort of an innate ability to potentially use magical items that the group would encounter. Now, the fact it hasn't come up is not a big deal to me, like it's not a problem, but it is actually something Hamid would be reasonably good at if it mattered that much in game. Okay, so next. Choose a feat and choose a sorcerer bonus feat. Okay, we get 2 feats at level 1. God, what did I take? I honestly do not remember what feats I took at level 1. I'm going to bring up my character sheet because I have it. So the game is going to go silent for a second. I'm not going to show you this, guys. It's highly classified information. Oh, interesting, yeah. Okay, so a feat that hasn't come up very much. That Hamid took at level 1 is combat casting. Which basically means if he has to cast a spell while people are near him, he is his chance of surviving it is higher. It would be a problem otherwise, because he is a very squishy boy. And this came up recently in, I think, episode 147. So I'm going to try and describe this without spoilers. But Ben's character was attempting to cast a spell while quite near to an enemy. They were fighting in episode 147. And the enemy got an attack of opportunity and hit Ben and Ben's character, and Ben's character lost the spell. And that was because we actually misinterpreted the rules slightly. And you're supposed to make what's called a concentration check in exactly that situation to avoid losing the spell due to someone hitting you, and in fact avoid being hit at all. I forgot at the moment. It was a very tense episode, as I'm sure those of you who've heard it remember. But Hamid has this ability, combat casting, so that is less likely to happen to him. Now, I actually get a second feat here, which I wasn't expecting. So Hamid certainly does have spell focus in game, but I don't remember him taking it this early. Elemental focus I do not think is a feat that exists. Okay, I see a lot of people begging for Crochet Hamid. It is next door in Anil's room. If Anil is still here and watching, maybe he shall bring it to me, and he can make a quick guest appearance. So yeah, Hamid. I'm sorry, guys. I'm feeling bad now. You're all criticising my tenses. So Hamid in-game does have spell focus. He actually has spell focus for two schools. He has spell focus enchantment and spell focus evocation. So enchantment is sort of the social spells, and evocation are sort of like the combat spells, the damage spells. But it looks like I don't remember elemental focus existing in game, and we've got all these meta magic feats as well, which I definitely don't want to take because they're complex and they make our. Here he is. Hi everybody.
Hey stream.
Everyone say hi to Anil.
Hey folks.
Oh, are you here? Thank you for the 100 bits. But yes, this crochet hammer was a gift from Sonia, also known as Cornflake, and it's wonderful. I love him very much, and he's very cuddly and huggable, and he's beautiful.
As are you.
Aww. Anil is wonderful too, obviously. If you didn't already know that, I mean, what are you even doing here? Bye, Anil. But yeah, this crocheted Hamid was a gift, and it makes me very happy. And he now features in a lot of streams because he sits on Anil's shelf behind Anil's stream computer, and he's turned up in various bits of stream art as well. But it's a wonderful, wonderful... Oh, Sonia, you're here! Yay! So, Flaky of Doom in Twitch chat is the one who made this Hamid. So everyone say, well done. Isn't he beautiful? And look, crucial, clean shaven, no moustache. Thank you, Sonia. Right, so where were we? So we're not going to take spell focus, although we'll probably take spell focus at future levels. I really want to take elemental focus for our fire spells, but maybe we can also take that later. Let's take spell focus, and let's take spell focus enchantment, because that is more true to the build of Hamid that I was developing through the early levels. So in the long term, he'll have spell focus enchantment and spell focus evocation and elemental focus fire. But for now, we're going to give him spell focus enchantment, because that's the more accurate representation. Do not add a moustache to this boy, you guys. Do not. This is my version of Hamid. You're all welcome to add moustaches to your versions of Hamid. All headcanons are valid, but this one is specifically as my version of Hamid, and he gets to be moustache free. Okay? Your headcanons are valid, my headcanons are valid as well, and my Hamid is moustacheless. But I love you guys. Okay, so yeah, so in the long run, with Hamid's feats, we would want spell focus enchantment, spell focus evocation, and elemental focus specifically for fire. But for now, we're going to start with... No, actually, I'm changing my mind. We're going to take spell focus enchantment later. Right now, we are going to take elemental focus, and we're going to take elemental focus fire. Because again, we expect a computer game to involve more combat than a paper game does. And so we're not going to use the social spells as often as we're going to use the combat spells. And so from the very beginning, we're going to enhance Hamid's fire spells to make sure they are as good as possible. And that is also accurate to Hamid. So Hamid, as I said, Hamid in-game, his feat choices have mostly been about improving both enchantment spells and evocation and fire spells. So that's still an accurate way to build Hamid. And now, I believe we will actually get to choose some spells. Now, of course, the hilarious thing is that Hamid's spells at level 1 didn't include any fire spells. Do we only get to choose 2 spells? That seems terrible. The one we know and love, Magic Missile. That was Hamid's very first choice. And maybe that's a reason. To make a different choice. Yeah, I'm changing my mind again, you guys. Are my abilities correct? Yeah, okay. So I'm changing my mind back specifically because we're not going to have any fire spells at level 1. I'm changing my spell focus back to enchantment for level 1. We're definitely taking Magic Missile. Magic Missile is a wonderful level 1 spell. It's so good. So Prestidigitation is a cantrip. So I believe we get that for free regardless. So you can see we've got Acid Splash, Daze, Jolt, Light, Ray of Frost, Resistance, Touch of Fatigue, Disrupt Undead, and Flare as just free cantrips. I think it looks like we get all of them, which is not exactly the same as in the main game. But we're definitely taking Magic Missile because that's the most accurate to Hamid. Now, I believe the actual spell that I took for Paper Hamid at level 1 was Charm Person, which almost never worked in the entire game. And it doesn't look like it even exists in Pathfinder Kingmaker. So we could take another damage spell, but we've already got Magic Missile is going to be our main combat spell, and because we're a spontaneous caster, we don't need to worry so much about having a variety. So there's a spell here called Ear Piercing Scream, which is definitely an ability Hamid possesses, but not a spell Hamid possesses. So I think the most accurate one, a spell that Hamid got reasonably early on, and I'm surprised is a level 1 spell here, is Sleep. So I think we're actually going to take Sleep. Also, Sleep is an enchantment, and we just took our... I don't know why it's not recommending Mage Armor. I'd love Mage Armor. Can I not use Mage Armor to improve my own AC? So yeah, Mage Armor is something Hamid had very early, and Sleep is something Hamid had very early. It does look like they've changed some of these spells compared to the way they worked in the written game as well. So I'm very interested. Some of these spells I thought were higher level, and I wonder how similar some of these spells are to the exact rules associated with the spells in paper. So I would quite like to take Mage Armor, but the game is saying it's unrecommended, and unfortunately that is hidden by my face currently, so you can't see down in that bottom corner. But the one thing that appears in there is Mage Armor. So I think we're going to take Sleep. Sleep is an enchantment spell. It's a spell Hamid had from very early on. And it should be reasonably useful if we want to diffuse a situation rather than be aggressive, and we'll have to rely on Hamid's natural charm rather than the charm person's spell to give Hamid options outside of combat situations. But that feels like the correct choice, I think. Why... This is so weird that it's not recommending Mage Armor. Or maybe it just means I can't take it. But okay. Okay, that's our choices. We're going to take Magic Missile and we're going to take Sleep. And we're going to see how they go. Is that everything? Have we chosen everything for our character? So, oh dear. Once again, it has failed to update these things. I wonder how long this text box is. Can I give Hamid his full name? I can. It's not updated the... There we go. There we go. I'm apparently clicking something on this screen. Thank you, Aranas. You're correct. Yeah. Okay, so Hamid's alignment is chaotic good, which that's almost always the alignment I choose for nearly any character, because I maintain that all characters see themselves as chaotic good. And it's reasonably accurate to Hamid, but Hamid is probably a bit more lawful in some ways than I originally envisioned him. But then again, maybe not. He wants to do good, and you know, he believes in his own decision-making ability over necessarily, you know, any strict code of conduct. But as we've seen, his morality has been a little bit flexible at times, although he's always trying to do the right thing. He doesn't always necessarily have a good understanding of what the right thing is. So, chaotic good is about as much as we will manage. Right, now, which voice do we think sounds best? I'll take care of it.
Their life ends here.
Their life ends here. That doesn't sound right.
No use for this.
I have no use for this.
I'll carve my name onto your flesh.
Nope.
Defeat is not an option.
Defeat is not an option.
I shall not falter.
I shall not falter.
I have no need for this.
We cannot be defeated.
We cannot be defeated.
Adventures await.
Adventures await.
I feel faint.
I mean that sounds a bit more like Hamid.
My skills exceed yours.
Well, I can see him saying that. My skills exceed yours.
A solid plan.
A solid plan, Zolf.
My wounds pile on.
No, that doesn't sound like Hamid.
Working like that.
I'll go ahead.
I'll go ahead.
I didn't even break a sweat.
I didn't even break a sweat.
Time's not waiting.
Time's not waiting.
Someone else would make better use of this.
Someone else would make better use of this.
A mere flesh wound.
Oh no, I don't like... You know what? I'm not going to give him a voice. I'm not going to give Hamid an automatic voice within the game, because if Hamid needs a voice, I will be doing Hamid's voice, because that's how that works. I play Hamid. I'm in charge of his voice. Now, what do we want his birthday to be? I'm going to make his birthday the same as mine, just because I can. The 12th day of the 6th month. That's now officially Hamid's birthday. Me and Hamid share a birthday. I have decreed it so. Right. Okay, so here is the character sheet for our chaotic good, brass draconic bloodline sorcerer. And you can see some of the abilities that you get just for being a halfling. Halfling luck is one of the ones I enjoy most. Classical perception. You can grow claws. We can see accurate in both Rusty Quill Gaming and in this game. Oh, grow claws seems to have been listed twice. That's interesting, isn't it? How bizarre. I actually really like this little small representation of Hamid. I like the color scheme is working exactly how I always imagined it, and the outfit actually looks really cool. The portrait is okay, not amazing, and we've got pretty good representation. You can see that even though we didn't manage to put any points in stealth, just by virtue of being quite small, Hamid naturally has a pretty good stealth rating. And yeah, perception, persuasion, knowledge arcana, use magic device. It'd be lovely to have had more skill points and more ability to do them, but here we go, guys. I have no idea what happens next. Presumably, the game now starts. I've got 15 minutes left. I'm switching corners.
Started at the mansion of an Aldori sword lord. Drawn by the promise of a most dangerous task and a commensurately huge reward, heroes of all stripes gathered here.
So we can see here the classic top-down isometric image that is common to the Baldur's Gate family of games.
Didn't even say what this was for, just that the Aldori were looking for heroes. Who are
Yep.
the Aldori anyway?
The Aldori are looking for heroes, and Hamid has always seen himself as a hero. That makes sense. And this lady appears to be called Amiri. Oh, we can zoom right in on Hamid. What other... Can I don't even know the controls of the game, guys. I don't know if I can make Hamid face me. I probably just have to click continue. But this is as I said, this is the classic top-down view of the isometric RPG family, and we can see our little boy sitting in the middle here. Yeah, the fantasy armor on the character on the right there are now on the left.
Just go back to your mountains or whatever hole you crawled out of. The Aldori sword lords run the premier school.
Bit of a poor sign, isn't it?
Also the richest and most influential group in this part of Brevoy. Take that tone with them, and they'll teach you some manners pretty quickly.
So the Aldori sword lords have requested a bunch of heroes to come and talk to them. So we have turned up as a wannabe hero.
All right, you purple toad, just shut your trap. And if you can't, I'll help you.
Hush! Quiet! They're coming.
Oh, and now we're all lining up. I love this beam just across the camera. That's funny. Yeah, I'm not sure about that character's armor or the portrait choice. Doesn't seem terribly appropriate.
And this is Lord Mayor Yosef Selimius of Restov. Welcome to my mansion.
Oh, and I can mouse over stuff. Restov is one of the two largest cities in the fertile region of Rostland in southern Brevoy. How interesting.
We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for responding to our call. You may be few, but that's unavoidable. We need only the best of the best for this task. and I see true heroes before me, strong and fearless. Exactly what Restov needs.
This is great. I did not necessarily expect this entire game to be voice acted in this way. And look, if we see the text, we get additional descriptions as well as just the voice line. We're getting a little bit of extra information too.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Now, to the point. South of here, just beyond Brevoy's border, lies a region known as the Stolen.
Oh, request to turn the game up a bit. Yes, I will do that quickly. Let me just wait to the end of this voice line.
It's never been truly taken. I won't bore you with the legal technicalities. Suffice to say that anyone with enough courage and power to seize the stolen lands and name themselves Baron or Baroness, claiming dominion, well, none of the neighboring states would be able to challenge it. Of course, Restov would be first to recognize the legitimacy of this new state, as well as the noble title of its founder.
Interesting. So we're being told that there's a bunch of empty land and that we can technically become a baron or a baroness. That's pretty cool. That does sound like something that would appeal to Hamid as well. Okay, I'm turning the game up a bit, guys. Hopefully it'll be a bit better when I go through to the next voice line.
Unfortunately, one serious obstacle stands between you and this title. A gang of bandits holds sway in the Stolen Lands. Their chief, who they call the Stag Lord, considers himself the rightful owner of these lands, and no one has yet been able to challenge his power. Bring me his head, and you'll be able to return to the Stolen Lands as their legal ruler.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not an terribly positive storyline, is it? We're being told that they're bandits, and if we go and kill the leader, we get to claim the land. Ouch. Ugh. Okay, so just straight up aggressive, murderous colonization? Is that the plot of this game? I really kind of hope not. Well, I appear to be able to disagree. Why not just recognize this Stag Lord as Baron?
That's a good point. As I see it, this Stag Lord already holds power over the region with confidence. Many noble bloodlines were started by bandits who just got lucky, weren't they?
I mean, yeah, pretty much. Most nobles were bandits at one point. That seems accurate. Okay, I'm starting to like Jathal already. Yeah. Basically, if you were a bandit long enough ago, a successful bandit long enough ago, you're now noble. That's basically how it works, right?
Perhaps because we do have standards to maintain. This room has seen many celebrations of adventurers, and even those who just got lucky. But giving a noble title to a bandit lord? That's one thing that's never happened here, and it won't while I still breathe.
Yeah, we'll have to see as we progress through the game. We'll have to hope there are options so that we're not just an aggressive, violent colonizer. I have no idea what the plot of this game is. We'll have to see. But yeah, I think so. Jathal is my favourite. This seems like a worthwhile question. There's a whole team of us. Who exactly will receive the Baron's title?
Of course. I'm the leader of this team, after all. Don't worry, though. I'll make it worth your while to help me.
I'm not sure I love Tartuccio.
We haven't yet begun, and you already speak of divvying rewards. What makes you think we'll even succeed? There's little point arguing over who gains the title when we'll most likely lose our lives there.
If I may please answer the question.
She takes a long pause, waiting for the voices to die down, as everyone directs their attention toward her.
We believe you're all equally deserving of a noble title. Over the course of your expedition, it will be up to you as a team to decide which of you is best suited.
That's going to be interesting. There's a lot of characters here. Are they all NPCs? Do we all join a party together? That's going to be a bit strange. You're helping us found a barony. What do you gain from such generosity?
Don't ask stupid questions. Why should you even care? What they have to gain and why, that's for Lady Aldori and I to discuss. It's none of your concern.
Yeah, don't love
your
you.
Only
Don't love
concern
you.
is to swing your sword around.
Yeah, don't have a sword, mate. Sorry.
Of course, we stand to benefit from this enterprise. But if you're concerned that we intend to rule your country from afar, using you as a front, well, please know that these concerns are unfounded. Let's just say that we have a strong interest in the region's stability. We have need of a ruling power we can negotiate with, not bandit gangs and monster hordes.
We'll see. We're gonna hopefully team up. I've already forgotten the name. Jathal. We're gonna team up with Jathal, and hopefully we can make peace with these so-called bandits. But maybe we can found an area to act as a buffer and stop this woman just going and being murderous towards the bandits.
What is that smell in the air?
Oh, a tieflinger. I don't think we could have created a tiefling, could we?
Unspoken words and political intrigue.
Noticing you've heard her comment, she winks at you coyly. I mean, Hamid is very pretty. Do we want to ask the final question, or do we want to exit out of this dialogue? What rewards can we expect exactly?
And what reward would you seek beyond a noble title and your own lands?
We'll absorb the costs of preparing and equipping your expeditions. Once you return victorious, Restov will also allocate you a significant sum to provide financial support for you to establish your country. Essentially,
I mean, that does seem like a lot of money. And as we all know, if we're in a Pathfinder game, we are basically a murder hobo willing to do anything for a significant enough amount of money.
Words, words, words. Significant, financial. I can't fill my belly with pretty words.
Of course. There will also be an official banquet held in your honor. All of Rostov's high society will gather.
Yes, exactly,
to
DS
celebrate
Lady
your
E.
feat.
Hamid the tiny capitalist. Oh, an official banquet? Banquet? I'm in now. I've got to do something for a banquet. All of Restov's high society will gather to celebrate your feat. I mean, now I'm in. Now I'm willing to do all morally questionable things.
Now you're talking.
It's clear as day.
Excellent. You venture forth tomorrow. For now, you can take some time to get to know one another better. Or you can head straight to your guest rooms to get some rest. You'll find we've already prepared supplies for you there. And thank you again for agreeing to take part in this expedition. I wish you luck.
I'm wondering if I can prop Hamid on my shoulder to adventure through the game with me. This is not comfortable. I don't think he's going to stay there. Okay, it was a nice idea. He's still sitting here next to me, cheering me on. Yeah, I mean, we want to get to know all these other awesome characters, right?
Thank you again, with all my heart, for replying to this call. The flare in your eyes reveals your courage, the unshakable will that distinguishes true heroes. I look at you, O champions of Restov, and doubt not for a second that you'll be victorious. So venture forth toward your feet. Go, and return in triumph.
Now everyone's dispersing.
Hi, my name's Lindsay. I'm a bard, though this is my first real adventure.
I feel you, Lindsay.
So, shall we go teach this stag lord a lesson?
Well, Lindsay seems nice. Let's make friends. I'm Hamid Salah Haroun Al-Tahan. Pleased to meet you.
Likewise. Actually, I also wanted to ask you something. How do you feel about this Tartuccio fellow? I think he's pretty obnoxious personally. He appointed himself head of the team, and he's just after the Baron's crown, or whatever it is Barons wear. Doesn't matter. I don't like him. I think you should be team leader. When I first saw you, I couldn't help but think, now here's a real hero.
I think Lindsay might be a fellow halfling.
Songs. This is the person I'll write my book about.
Okay, she wants to write a book about me, and I think we're flirting, so I'm definitely on board already. Yeah, I think we might both be halflings.
Damn, I should have led with that. Please, just let me explain. You know what the trouble with most heroes' biographies is? They're always written years later, based on the tales of, best case, people who saw things from the outside. Worst case, someone heard about it from their brother, who heard it from their friend, who heard it from their cousin, and so on, adding a new batch of lies each time.
Hamid could finally be the playboy of my initial dreams. No, I'm not sure. We'll see.
With them to write it all down properly.
But Hamid with a girlfriend is definitely something that would be fun.
And then I thought, I could be that bard. I just needed to find a suitable hero and volunteer to follow along on their glorious adventure. A great plan, huh? And here we are, with a heroic journey lying before us. Who's going to be the hero? Some dwarf who keeps muttering about how we'll all die? Or maybe that horrific scythe lady? Or, God's forbid, Tartuccio? No way.
I mean, okay, we're level 1 Hamid, right? We're Hamid from the very beginning of the campaign. We're optimistic. We believe that heroing is easy. We want to be a hero. We're pretty vain. I mean, pretty vain. Pretty gosh darn vain, you guys. I think Hamid is all going to be on board. Not a bad plan. It's settled then. I'll accomplish the feats, and you'll write them down.
All right. I'm going to my room to write about tonight. See you in the morning.
Okay, Lindsay, I like you. Hamid and Lindsay. Friends forever. The first step on the road to glory. Oh. Leave the hall. I want to talk to other these people. What was this? This lady seemed really cool. Right, but we're out of time, guys. Presumably there is a... Yes. Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see if level 1 Hamid in this game reacts the same way as level 1 Hamid did in the campaign to his first combat. Yeah, I think we want to make friends with the Scythe lady. I think the Scythe lady was pretty cool, actually. Jaethal was, I think, was her name, and she seemed great. So I presume we're going to have to recruit people to our party at this point. I don't think we want Tartuccio, and the poor underdressed barbarian woman seemed cool, but hopefully we can help her get a more appropriate outfit. But yeah, we're going to have Lindsay in our party, obviously, because Lindsay is amazing already. And Jaethal seemed really cool. And the fact that she was also a bit like, hey, these guys already live there? That makes me think that, you know, that's probably a good person to add to our party. But there we go, guys. We've reached the end of today's stream. I'm going to save the game. We've had exactly 1 dialogue, and I'm going to apply for more streams on the Rusty Quill channel, and I'm going to continue playing through this game as Hamid, because I love Hamid, and more opportunities to be Hamid and play Hamid is very appealing to me, and we'll see how we do. And I hope you enjoyed today's. I hope you enjoyed today's run through, seeing this game. As I said, I hadn't loaded it up before. Today, but I've been looking forward to it for a long time. It was really fun to get to explore it with all of you.
More streams.
Oh, are you here? Thank you for the 100 bits. It was really fun to get to explore this game with all of you. I hope you enjoyed my insight on character creation and the mechanical side of that. As I said, you know, paper and computer games not exactly the same. Moliezu donated 130 bits, 138 bits, double nice. Thank you so much. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed my insights into character creation and my commentary on the benefits and costs of Pathfinder versus D&D 5e versus other, and remember there's so many different games and role-playing systems out there, and it's you know, I think role-playing is certainly best done in person if you are able to, and obviously right now that's pretty tricky. Oh, JJ Hunter with 100 bits. Thank you. Tefera with 100 bits. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, there's a lot of role-playing games out there. DS Lady Y, 69 bits. Thank you. Nice. There's so many different role-playing games out there. So many different ways to do it. I think, you know, in person, which right now means, you know, physically in person, or potentially Obviously, like, you know, through social software like Discord as a way to play games while lockdown and quarantine are still happening. A great way to explore it, but obviously if you're looking for computer game versions as well, then stuff like Dragon Age or Divinity, or indeed Pathfinder Kingmaker. It's certainly a game I'm looking forward to exploring more. Hopefully we can avoid some of the more problematic elements we've already encountered, and enjoy the game and meet some lovely characters and interact with them and continue playing as our little boy. Okay, so time to wrap up. Remember that in a mere 2 hours on this very channel, Annie is making their debut. Oh, Bad Banther, 100 bits, thank you very much.
Hamid 3.
Making their stream debut on this channel and doing a music writing stream. And both the brothers Meredith and Johnny and Sasha, with special guests Frank and Helen, are doing streams later this evening as well. There's 3 different streams to choose from this evening from various Rusty Quill people. DS Lady E, 31 bits, thank you very much. So there's loads of streams to choose from today. Lots of options this evening. And remember, if you can't catch something live, you can always catch something on demand tomorrow or later in the week. But do check out some of those other streams. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. Just a quick reminder: Rusty Quill is a podcast and other entertainment company based in London, England. You can find out more if you haven't encountered us before. You can find out more about us at our website, rustyquill.com. We have Patreon, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have a Discord server where you can come and chat to us and talk to us and find out more. And I, myself, appear in the Rusty Quill Gaming Podcast, which releases every Wednesday through all good podcatchers, and I play Hamid Salahurin Al-Tahan, the Halfling Sorcerer. And it's full of wonderful people playing a really interesting and fun game. So do check the podcast out. If you want to see more of me specifically, I'll also mention here that I stream twice a week myself. Another 100 bits from BEs. I stream myself here on Twitch twice a week on my own channel. I stream various computer games. Currently, I'm playing through Life is Strange in one of my stream slots. Sleemstrots, that's what we agreed to call them, Sleemstrots. I play through Life is Strange in one of my Sleemstrots, and I currently play Monster Train in my other Sleemstrot. And you can catch me at Brave Sir Fibblethip. That's my personal channel, and I've got the same name on both Twitter and on Twitch if you want to follow me personally and see more of me playing games and trying to call out problematic bits of them as often as I can, but also enjoying them and having fun and exploring plots. I'm so grateful to everyone who decided to join me today. If you do end up playing any Pathfinder Kingmaker, I'd love to hear about your experiences with it and how you found it. And I hope I will encounter all of you soon on other streams or on social media. And I think I've mentioned everything. So Annie's stream later here on this channel, other Rusty Quill affiliated streams, and normal stream schedule resumes for Rusty Quill. Streams on Wednesday afternoons and on Saturday afternoons, standardly from Anil and Mike. So there's always plenty of content to catch up on and watch from the Rusty Quill team. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. Have a great afternoon, evening, morning, depending on where in the world you are, what time zone it is for you. I hope it treats you well. I forgot something. I forgot to say thank you to one very important group of people. We have some wonderful mods in chat. Zalia, I've seen around today. I think Drut was here earlier as well. Our mods are great, and they do a lot of good work making sure chat behaves well, and that this is a nice, pleasant place to hang out. I'm really sorry that I forgot to mention you sooner, guys. I did have it in my notes and on my list to do, and I managed to slip it. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Big shout out to our wonderful mods. They're great people. They do good work, and I really appreciate having them here. Oh, and another 100 bits cheer from Are You Here? Okay, now I'm actually going this time. But thank you everyone who joined, and thank you the mods, and just see you all soon.